As your uncle, I want you to know that on the road to life, there will be rough spots, and they will chew up your tires. I recently took a road trip to Greensville to attend a chili cook-off. Rough roads all the way down. I drove there on these Cooper Discoverer and Duramax tires. You know, they're made with the durability of off-road tires, but for on-road driving. Without them, we might never know the winning bean-to-meat ratio of a good chili. And those are the things in life, my friend, worth driving towards. So go with the Coopers. Cooper! I'm hungry now.
Championship so close they can taste it. Oliver Askew has won the Freedom 100. Side by side. And your new champion, Kirsten Rasmussen.
Welcome back, race fans, to Road to Indy TV Live. I'm your host, Parker Thompson. We're nearing the end of our Barber Motorsports Park Road to Indy TV Live edition, but we're saving the best for last. We've got Indy Lights Race 2 coming up, and what better a way to kick it off than to have David Malukas, our pole sitter in Indy Lights Race 2. David, pretty great weekend so far. I know Race 1 didn't go the way you wanted to, but your confidence is high.
Yeah, no, it's really high. I mean, we have the pace. We've shown it. I mean, going through quali 1, quali 2. Yes, yesterday was a shame, but, I mean, it was kind of unavoidable. But HMD still P1, P2, and that's all that really matters. I mean, we could be last, we could be first. I just love the team, and as long as I'm having a good time, then that's all I really care about.
Well, and let's talk about Team HMD with Global Racing. I mean, you guys have made a statement. Obviously, Andretti Autosport has been a dominant force on the road to Indy for the last 5 years of the new IL-15 car. But HMD comes up with 4 strong entries. Describe to me, off-season to now, what you guys have done to prepare.
Yeah, I mean, even going before that, if you told me 3 or 4 years ago that I would be in Indy Lights and actually beating Andretti, I would think you're joking. I'd be like, well, I mean, we wouldn't have been expecting that for at least a really long time. But no, the team's put in so much work, so much effort. I mean, trying to get that communication, that's really important between the engineers, mechanics, from the lowest to the highest. Everybody has a job, and it all needs to be done well. And we have, in every single sector, everybody does it amazing, perfect. And off-season, on-season, I mean, it's just beautiful. I love it.
Oh, that's fantastic. And when we talk about your team working well together, you've got your engineer, Yancey Diotalevi. He's actually Canadian, which is a nice little shout-out to the Canadians on Rev TV watching us. Describe to me your relationship with Yancey. You've worked with him now for 2 years. You guys are both, you seem like you click. When I come into the hauler, it seems like you guys jive very well.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, right off the get-go, when we first met, it was just kind of like bro vibes, We come in, and it's like I talk to him as it's like I'm like a high school friend, Like I'm very open to him, everything, and the connection is unreal. And I can see he's very passionate. He wants me to win. He wants the car to do well, and it's the same way, both ways. I trust him, he trusts me, and it works really well on track, off track. We show a lot of emotion to each other, so it's amazing.
That is incredible. And you know that an engineer and a driver are working well. When I watch qualifying, too, it's not like you had pole the whole time. You came in, you did a change. If I'm not mistaken, you didn't even have new tires at the end. You came in and did a change with a couple minutes to go, went out and threw a lap down. Describe to me coming down pit lane and telling your engineer, I need this.
Well, actually going into that, so we had quite a bit of understeer on that first run, and we were kind of having a little bit of a struggle with that. But I kind of made a call for once. I'm like, you know what? I'm going to stand up hey, we need to make a change for this understeer. So we actually made the change for that understeer. And that second run it was a lot of oversteer. It went the wrong way for sure. I was like, oh no. So I was messing with the roll bars. I was going forward, backwards. I was like Michael Schumacher in Monaco, man, like bias, everything. I was like, man, I got to save this. I got to make sure I get a good time in, because it would have been my fault. So luckily I pulled it through, but it was those stressful laps because I made the wrong decision. So from now on, I'm just always going to leave it to him.
Well, I have to say, it did work out for you.
Yeah, it did. I mean, yeah, we did end up pulling it through. But yeah, no, I mean, He's very smart, very intelligent. I kind of just give him the advice of what the car is, and then he makes the final decision.
Well, two things I want to go over for the fans at home. Number one, almost never in Indy Lights or even any championship on the road to Indy do you see someone go out on new tires, not get the lap done on new tires, come in, make a change, and actually go out and grab the pole. So to do it on an older set of tires is pretty incredible. The second thing we talked about, USF 2000 and Indy Pro don't have roll bars. Indy Lights has roll bars. You have a rear and a front roll bar.
Yes, we do.
Yes, so that is just that's how we're taking it one step further in Indy Lights. I'm great that you brought up that point that you're actually adjusting it in a lap. A lot of people just think, you know, during a race I'll move it on a race run, but you're actually moving it in a lap, which is pretty impressive.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, because sometimes, you know, you'd have a run where, let's say, you have low-speed understeer but high-speed oversteer.
Right.
So, you know, you're going to come into turn 5 and you're going to put the bars to the front. You know, I need more front grip, get that car turned. Come out of 9, now you're coming into the high-speed corners. All right, let's move them back. So there's actually, it is a lot going on as a driver, a little bit more into Indy Lights, which is kind of, I think, a good step to prepare you for IndyCar. I mean, you look at IndyCar, you've got a lot of things to do. So I think just having those little roll bars is a good attachment there.
Yes, and what the roll bar is actually doing is changing the stiffness of the front and the rear of the car. So what he's describing, that's it's cool for our insight to our fans. A lot of people don't know that you have that adjustment inside the race car.
Yeah.
We've went through qualifying. Now talk to me about the race. You went out, you put a statement in qualifying. We know that Barber Motorsports is very tough to pass at. What's your mindset going into this race?
I mean, we know we have the pace. We've tested, you know, quality runs, race runs. I mean, we always have the speed, and especially on the old tires. So hopefully, I mean, we can pull it through. I mean, it's kind of just make it through this first corner. I mean, this week we don't really have push to pass. I guess that's, you know, work in progress. So, and this track being a lot of fun as it is very tough to pass in. So, but I think if we can get a good first lap, I think, you know, kind of just focus on, look forward, and don't look back.
Well, and let's talk about that first lap. I don't want to bring it up because I don't like jinxing anything. But we look at Kyle Kirkwood, probably the most desperate we've seen him on the start of a Road to Indy championship. Describe to me what happened there and what your opinion was.
Yeah, I mean, look, we all have nerves. You know, if one of the drivers here says that they're not nervous, they're lying. I mean, but it's looked as a bad thing. I think being nervous is good. You know, if you're nervous, it means you care. You know, you care for your result. You want to do well. And going in, you know, with COVID, it's been a long off season.
Yeah.
You know, a lot of these drivers haven't been doing a lot of run time, and it's a lot of pressure. So yes, it was very unfortunate. I was angry at the time, but you know, he came to apologize to me, and you know, it happens. I've been on the other side of that. I've been, you know, kind of hot-headed once, and you know, being very anxious and driving around the track. But no, I think it's all racing. I mean, it happens to all of us. So you know, it was bad, but I mean, we look forward.
Well, and kudos to you. You probably haven't heard this, but now that I'm on this side of the paddock and I wear a Road to Indy shirt, I have to say all of the officials that spoke to you after the race gave you nothing but compliments of how cool and calm you were over the incident. And I have to say, as a driver that has been taken out of a race before, probably one of the toughest jobs of a driver is to bite their tongue, take one off the chin, and go back to the team and get everybody motivated for race 2, right? Because it's not like the weekend's over. It's not like IndyCar. You crash out of a race, you fly home, you know, you forget about it. Indy Lights, we got a second race coming up.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, it also happened in race 1. I mean, you know, I was, you know, angry, but I try to keep myself calm, cool, collective. You know, it happens, and we have another day. So, you know, slept well, and, yeah, looking on forward for today.
Let's talk about another most anticipated driver on the Road to Indy. I would say Linus Lundqvist.
Yes.
How has that relationship been so far? It's a unique relationship because we've had two kind of powerhouse teams come together as one under one banner.
Yeah.
Describe to me that competitive nature of both of you.
Yeah, I mean, so going through FR season, he was, you know, my worst nemesis, you know. So it's kind of always me and him going, you know, head to head. But no, I think this joint has been really good. You know, we talked at the end of the FR season at the banquet, and ever since then, you know, the connection with everybody. We love the people, everybody in Global. It's been incredible. Me and Linus, the relationship is only going to get better. And yeah, I mean, yes, we're teammates, but, you know, on track, we are still our own cars. So there still will be some scuffles, but, you know, it's really good to have a really good teammate and for us to be together.
You're one of the few guys that's actually got to see his squiggly lines, or if we're going to use the real terms, his data.
Yes.
Not many people get that insight to see a guy like that.
Yeah.
Where can you say there's differences between you two?
I don't know. I guess I'm kind of more with my driving style. I really like to focus on the exits, and he seems to be more on a late breaker.
Okay.
But when you look at the data, it seems, I mean, very, very similar, very close. And, going through the FR season, we knew that because in FR, in quali, whoever gets pole, you end up, getting the data from them. So we already saw, like, our driving styles were very similar. So that was also another plus, when we were talking to him. I kind of already knew, like, oh, we're very similar on the style. So it's going to be good, with us helping each other.
Well, we've got David Malukas starting on the front row, and we've got Linus Lundqvist starting on the front row.
Yeah.
We can't wait to see Indy Lights Race 2 action. David, thank you so much for coming on board.
Yeah, no problem.
And thank you to everybody at home. We will be back with more action after some commercials.
Awesome. Bye.
I could not be more excited that Barber Motorsports Park is back on the calendar for the Road to Indy. The Alabama fans are some of the most dedicated. Let's go speak to some of the season pass holders here at Barber Motorsports Park. We're down here at the bottom of Turn 3, where you can only get in if you have a season pass. Some of the most dedicated Barber Motorsports fans come down here to hang out, have a good time. Let's see if we can get one on camera. This looks to be Ant-Man. Only the most dedicated fans have a helmet on. Let's see if he has anything to say. Silent. These Alabama fans get crazy for a good view. How's it hanging, sweetheart? Wow, my arms are tired. She's a talker. Legend has it here at Barber Motorsports Park that one of these Alabama fans had such a good time at an IndyCar race that they got lost forever. One too many wobbly pops, and all of a sudden, they're a lifetime pass holder. Jack, how are you? These Alabama fans are nuts. They won't even miss a workout for the race. Good game, fella. My friend with the good hair back in Turn 9 was telling me about a super fan on the outside of Turn 14, but I can't seem to find him. Either way, we've met a ton of dedicated pass holders here at Barber Motorsports Park, and we found out how beautiful Alabama truly is. Let's cut back to some of the racing action.
With over 40 years in business, High Tide Boat Lifts is committed to elevating your craft. Whether you own a personal watercraft or a large yacht, we can design and create the perfect lift for your needs. At High Tide Boat Lifts, we understand that you've worked hard to get to a successful place in life. We'll ensure you have a hassle-free experience, maximizing the time you spend on your boat with family and friends, and supporting your dreams out on the open water.
Welcome back to Road to Indy TV Live. We did a quick switch out, a driver swap, and all of a sudden I got Rob Howden back in the booth with me. Rob?
I'm back.
Beautiful day. It's staying true. It's sunny. It's getting hot for the Indy Lights race, probably some of the hottest temperatures that we've seen all weekend.
I'll tell you this. We took the Yuncos Racing crew over for a Cooper Tire Q&A at their stage, and people are filing in here like crazy. You know, the fans are starting to roll in. Everybody's, parking the car and bringing in the chairs and everything to park themselves on some of the hills here at Barber Motorsports Park. Temperatures coming up. It's a gorgeous day. It's blue skies, and essentially absolutely perfect.
It is absolutely perfect. Cool enough for that engine to run good, cool enough for the downforce, and hot enough for the track to actually have some grip for our Cooper tires.
And for Indy Lights, this will be an interesting run. We've had a lot of rubber going down now from IndyCar. Indy Lights drivers lining up here again, getting set to go momentarily. We're like, 25 minutes away, I think, before we fire up the engines. I like the way things are going to be for this Indy Lights race because I think David Malukas, you think about what happened to him with Kyle Kirkwood in that opening run. He's been stewing for the last almost 24 hours, right? And he's ready to get back at it. So Malukas going to start on pole. We've seen pole sitters, if they're able to get out of turn 1 and turn 2 cleanly, really kind of have a control of the race.
Well, and we actually just had Malukas on the broadcast.
Saw that, yeah.
Cool, calm, and collected. This is the most confident I've ever seen him to start a Road to Indy championship.
He's just maturing and growing, you know what I mean? We've watched him over the last couple of years. He did a partial program in USF 2000 a number of years ago. Then he ran alongside Toby Sowery in Indy Pro 2000, was able to win at Road America. Of course, 2019 was his debut, a really kind of raw rookie season in Indy Lights. Right before COVID locked us down, he was the fastest driver in the one practice session at St. Petersburg, and now he's come out of the gate showing that he is ready to contend for a championship.
100%,
Yeah.
and I think qualifying too is a statement for him. You know, I talked with him about his lap there. He didn't do it on new tires when he went and stickered up.
Okay.
He actually came in with about 5 minutes to go. They made a change. Yancey Diotalevi made a big snap call. He went out and did one lap and got the pole on the checkered flag.
That bodes well for those tires then, too. If he indeed did that and did put a bunch of laps on those tires, that really bodes well. I think the other storyline I like, we obviously know that Linus Lundqvist was able to get that win. He's got the confidence right now. He's like, I kicked everybody's butt in 2020. I'm here to do the same thing in Indy Lights. He's able to get that victory from the pole position. Malukas will now start pole. But for me, and I mentioned this in the IndyCar radio broadcast, is a simple fact that HMD has tested here significantly. We're Andretti going to other racetracks. I think they've only been here for 2 full days of testing. When I talked to Devlin DiFrancesco, he said they are making major gains. He's qualified. In fact, I think both Robert McGuinness and Devlin DiFrancesco are on row number 2. So
yes.
Andretti moves up to the second row. They may be ready to challenge, working better throughout the entire weekend.
Well, and how about Devlin DiFrancesco and Robert McGuinness leading that Andretti team?
Yeah.
I'll say in preseason testing, we probably weren't going to be talking about that coming into race 1.
Well, you know, Devlin comes in as the rookie driver from Indy Pro 2000, won a couple races in the Indy and the runner-up in the championship. I think everybody looked at Kyle Kirkwood being this force coming through the 4 championships he won. He won USF 2000, won Indy Pro. You know, he's going to be – everybody kind of picks him as the primary championship contender, not knowing the power, I think, and the emergence of HMD. But Robert McGuinness is a guy who has a lot of experience, and you can see he's grown a ton. When I saw him at the paddock here, I haven't seen him for a bit, for spring training, I looked at him and like, man, he weighs exactly the same, but any of that fat's gone. This kid is ripped up. He is strong. I was very impressed.
He is. He's taking it very serious.
He is, yeah.
So when we talk about Andretti and the fall-off, we have to talk about HMD Global. I mean, somebody that's kind of flown under the radar for me, Christian Pedersen.
Yeah. And what
Benjamin
he was able
Pedersen.
to do, yeah.
Jeez, his father,
his dad's Christian, yeah.
Benjamin Pedersen. You know, I don't think he was really on anybody's radar too hard coming into the season, but to come out with second place.
He's got a lot of experience, I think, that not everybody knows about. He, of course, ran in the FRA program last year, but he has got a lot of experience in British F3, Euro Formula. He's done a bunch of different programs, right? And so that different experience at different racetracks is going to play for him. Yeah, it may look like he may be in the shadows a little bit right now with David Malukas, the experience he has here, Linus coming in with all that success from last year. But I really think that Benjamin's going to be a driver who, I don't want to call him a dark horse, but maybe that's what he is. I think if he puts together a good run of races and is able to, let's say, get somewhere like, let's say, the road course at Indianapolis, maybe that favors him. I'm not saying that it does, but if he gets to a racetrack where he can get a couple of wins, throw his name in the hat for the title too.
Honestly,
right?
I mean,
Yeah.
HMD with Global, it just looks like they're a powerhouse
Agreed.
this year.
Agreed. What are your thoughts then on Juncos Racing with Toby Sowery? He got up to second yesterday and made a minor mistake. And Toby's the kind of guy that gets down on himself. Not get down, he's hard on himself. But I think that he's also a veteran driver who can then turn around. Another British Formula 3 guy that's come over to the U.S., he'll be able to turn it around and move his way forward too.
I have to say, when I think of Toby, I think of impenetrable confidence.
I like that. That's a great combo of words.
I don't think you could rattle him if you tried.
You're probably
Because I don't
right.
even think he'll know that you're rattling
Yeah.
him. He is impenetrable that way. So yes, he's going to get down on himself, but one thing about being very hard on yourself and the way that Toby is with himself, he doesn't let other people be hard on him. He's his own critic.
Yeah.
And he holds himself
He's
to
the
his
one.
own. He's the one.
Yeah.
He's the guy. So, yeah, I talked to him. I think he was just more concerned about not getting a trophy out of it. But he's going, there's a long season to go. He wanted to get wet with champagne. He couldn't do that. But I don't count him out for 1 second. You know,
I don't either.
Coming in here with the limited testing that he's done and piecing together the deal that he did with Juncos very late in the season, I think he's the dark horse.
Agreed, and because it puts him obviously at a disadvantage, especially here at Barber Motorsports Park. And the one thing we don't have, because of an issue with our timing loops, we don't have the push-to-pass option here this weekend. And I think that's going to be key. Push-to-pass, really a primary opportunity here at Barber because it's so tough to overtake. You need to have that extra 50 horsepower. We've changed it. It's actually 1.5 seconds back, not the 1 point. And plus, I think it's 15-second duration. So it's a long run of 10 pushes for 15-second durations. That would have changed things, I think, for a lot of drivers here this particular weekend. But what I like is if he's able to get out of here with a couple of good finishes, we go to St. Petersburg. That's a place Toby's driven before.
Yes.
He's been good there before, podium before. He could really be the one to watch at St. Petersburg next weekend.
Well, and I think we've given Toby enough excuses, but to just add my final one to the list, obviously Juncos were the former track records with this IL-15 car with Spencer Pigot back in 2016. So when they're coming into this, obviously they thought they had the setup, and in talking with Toby, they've really had to divert far away from where the car once was to where it is now. Obviously, Spencer probably a lot different of a driver style than Toby. And then to add to that, the track, I mean, we're seeing track records broken all across the board.
The track was repaved, right? Yeah.
So the track, the weather, everything is different. You know, in my years past, it's been a lot hotter at Barber. This is some of the coolest temperatures that we've seen.
Yeah, we're looking at 70 degrees right now. I think trackside, maybe up to 72 will be the warmest it's going to be. But, yeah, and I like the fact that both Andretti and Juncos, they've really had to work hard. Limited testing here at Barber where they're really kind of playing catch-up to Global and HMD here for the last couple of days. So, it'll again, for me, the veteran drivers have to step up. And sometimes it's not about winning races. Sometimes it's getting points so that when you think about it, when we're at the championship banquet at the end of the season, you'll be able to look back at this weekend and say, you know what, we weren't superstars, but we were able to bag some really good points.
Yes.
Yeah.
Now, finally, before we get into that front row in the Battle of Royale, we should probably touch on Stingray Robb.
Yep.
Developing, learning. You know, I had a talk with him yesterday. He still seems confident. He's a humble guy when you talk to him. He was down on himself, too. But, I mean, I thought 8th place yesterday was a solid start. He fended off Kirkwood the whole race.
Agreed. Yep.
Kirkwood, after a red mist, I would say was going to be a tough guy to hold off, and he was up to the task. Where do you think he's going to end up here in race 2?
You know what? Again, for a lot of these guys, like a Stingray Robb, here's a guy that's finally got that first race in the books, right? You get that first race done. You got the 24 hours or so to be able to put it through your own mental internal debrief, right? You can kind of, okay, I picked this up, I did this. I think if he's able to get to the top 5, he'll be happy. Literally, even 5, 6, 7 is probably going to be good for Stingray, knowing right now that you've got the two guys from HMD and Global on the front row. They're going to try to get away. McGinnis and DiFrancesco hopefully maybe found some more speed. They're going to challenge. I think a top 5, top 6, 5, 6, 7 for Stingray to get this first weekend done. He rolled the car in the trailer, as did everybody else, other than Malukas. I think that's key to be able to get, as a rookie, get that first race done.
I couldn't agree more. And when we talk about confidence, the scholarship car has got to bring some level of confidence. I always thought that would be the career clicker for me.
I have no doubt it would have been, but there's also the confidence plus the pressure.
For sure.
You've got that pressure of being the champion and having those scholarship colors and a lot of focus on you right now, and especially at this level of racing. It's unbelievably expensive to run in the road to Indy. You know, obviously USF 2000 is one level of budget. Indy Pro's the next level. Indy Lights is up there where, man, not a lot of people can find the sponsorship. And I know that Stingray and his whole team have done a great job to get partners and bring people on board. Well, the more people you have on board, the more people I think internally you figure you're answering to. You know, you want to make sure that you do them proud. And I know that he does that outside the car all the time. And I think yesterday, holding off Kirkwood is a really big plus for Stingray Robb.
100%.
Yeah.
As we get closer to race 2, we've got to talk about what I like to dub as the Battle of Royale.
You like
which
that?
Which is the inner team battle that's going to happen over there. I can see it boiling with those global HMD guys.
You think they'll ever do this?
Do I think?
You think so?
I think it's not a matter of...
You think the person
well, yeah, not a matter of how, but when.
Wait till they wreck each other one time.
Well, listen, it might not go as far as wrecking, but I think you'll see some Cooper Tire donut rubber on some side pods here in races to
Yeah,
come.
you had Linus Lundqvist on the pole yesterday and David on the outside. David Malukas. Malukas gets tagged by Kirkwood, ends up in the wall on the outside of turn number 1. Now you got Malukas on the pole. You got Linus running second. Linus wants both wins. Like, again, you think about his mindset last year in the other program that he ran and won the championship one. He was able to win, 14 or 16 or something ridiculous. He won all these races. This guy's not used to losing. He doesn't want to lose races, right? He wants to win every race he gets into. But David Malukas is really focused on getting that debut victory. And again, Linus is already a kind of a guy that's won races. What happens when David wins his first race and then goes to St. Petersburg, where he was so good in that single session last year?
No, I'm telling you, I think that Malukas is really underrated when it comes to this battle, and I'm excited. I hope he proves me right here, because I don't think Linus is just going to walk away with it.
I was going to ask you the question. So obviously coming out of the final corner to get the green, we had that. You mentioned it yesterday, the longer, around 500-foot punch-off zone for our RTI. The RTI post to RTI post coming is when the pole sitter gets to punch off. Would you want to start on the second row right now? Do you think there's going to be some fireworks between the two HMD drivers, or do you think that they're going to take care of each other in 1, 2, and 3?
I really think you have to play nice at this stage in the game.
So early in the year.
It's so early in the year. I mean, if you start that type of drama at Barber Motorsports Park, and you've got another 9 rounds, 8, 9 rounds in Indy Lights, all of a sudden it's a long season of sharing data with a guy that you don't like very much.
When you and I are sitting here in Monterey, California at WeatherTech Raceway Laguna Seca, and it's the season finale for Indy Lights, and it's the Sunday main event to see who wins the championship, and it's Malukas and Lundqvist, then all bets are off going down into turn 2 and 3.
And listen, you cross the halfway point in the season, and really all bets are off as a race car driver.
That's true. Very important, right?
You know, it almost, I think the nail will be in the coffin towards the end of that. I hope not. For us viewers, I hope that it goes down to the wire.
Oh, it's got to come on. It's got to go down to the wire.
But I'm always big on someone going out and proving that they're overall
Agreed.
a better guy.
Agreed. I just really believe that, again, we're going to see some of these teams come forward. One of the things I said early on in the season, which I loved about the lineup right now, is you look at all these teams, championships, race winners. Carlin's been a championship race winner. Hunkos has been a championship race winner. Andretti's been a championship and a race winner, right? Then you got HMD now is already now a race-winning team. They're a race-winning operation. 4 different teams have won races. This is going to be unbelievably thrilling as we get going to these next races.
It is going to be unbelievably thrilling. And Andretti falling and HMD stepping up is not the only changes to 2021. Obviously, with the introduction of the Halo-type device for the IL-15 this year, let's take a closer look at what that device is doing for our drivers and for our technical staff on the road to Indy. Indy Lights paddock to kick off our first segment of Talkin' Tech with Thompson for 2021. One of the major differences for the IL-15 is the addition of the Halo-type device for 2021. Let's go see if we can find some drivers and engineers to give us a little inside scoop. I'm here with reigning 2019 Indy Pro 2000 champion Kyle Kirkwood to run us through what it's like to drive with this on the car. Kyle, what, first off, visually, is different about this Halo-type device?
You know, I'm a huge fan of the Halo-type device. I've driven the F3 and the Formula E with Halos previously, so I've actually got a little bit of experience with it. Compared to the CFE, it's honestly the same. It's the same range of vision that you're looking at kind of right there, and you look around it. It's like putting your finger in front of your face. Your finger turns into 2 when you're looking off in the distance. That's the way I look at it. So you get in the car and you kind of forget about it. But when you first get in it, it's kind of like a sense of safety. When you have that around you, and you honestly feel way safe with the car.
So we've got the driver's perspective, but that's only one part of what makes a championship run. Now we need an engineer's perspective. I'm here with Yancey Diotalevi. Yancey, you've been a championship-winning engineer in many different categories. Let's talk about not just the weight. Let's talk about, obviously, the weight is up a lot higher. It's changing your center of gravity. What has that done at all, if anything?
Weight-wise, it didn't add too much weight, so it's not as much of an impact as I guess the IndyCar would have been, where the IndyCar added 60 pounds. This only added about 22 pounds. So the drivers didn't really even know that it was there, to be honest, on the first few runs that we ran. Setup-wise, we were able to run here competitive times, and our setup really didn't change all that much for it. So,
Yancey, thank you very much for your time.
Thank you.
In all of my talks with the Indy Lights paddock, even off the record, all positive accounts for the Halo-type device on the Indy Lights car. Not only do the drivers not even see it visually, I've heard a lot of drivers feel safer with the Halo-type device on the car, and the engineers don't seem that it's affecting any of the air over the car, and the weight is not an issue. So fantastic that the Road to Indy has introduced the Halo-type device to the Indy Lights car. We can't wait for race 2 coming up at 12:20 Central Time. For our American viewers, they can check it out on Peacock TV. For our Canadian viewers, you'll head over to Rev TV. And for anybody international, you'll stay right here on the Road to Indy TV live app.
Your uncle, I want you to know that on the road of life, there will be rough spots, and they will chew up your tires. I recently took a road trip to Greensville to attend a chili cook-off. Rough roads all the way down. I drove there on these Cooper Discoverer and Duramax tires. You know, they're made with the durability of off-road tires, but for on-road driving. Without them, we might never know the winning bean-to-meat ratio of a good chili. And those are the things in life, my friend, worth driving towards. So go with the Coopers. Cooper! I'm hungry now.
With over 40 years in business, High Tide Boat Lifts is committed to elevating your craft. Whether you own a personal watercraft or a large yacht, we can design and create the perfect lift for your needs. At High Tide Boat Lifts, we understand that you've worked hard to get to a successful place in life. We'll ensure you have a hassle-free experience, maximizing the time you spend on your boat with family and friends, and supporting your dreams out on the open water.
Karting and motorsport enthusiasts. Lucas Oil School of Racing is America's #1 Formula Car race school. Enjoy modern paddle shifters, pit speed limiter, and onboard video along with integrated data systems. Get started today with our 2-day basic or advanced course. Lucas Oil School of Racing is the official school of the Road to Indy. We can also qualify you for your SCCA license. Get started today by visiting us at www.lucasraceschool.com.
Hey, your Uncle Cooper here. Once upon a time, there was a girl named Goldie, my niece, your cousin, and Goldie didn't know which tires were right for her. The first ones were too much tire, and then the next ones were not enough tire. Anyway, long story short, Goldie found the Coopers, and they were just right. What a happy, practical ending. Go to sleep. I love you. Go with the Coopers. Cooper!
With over 40 years in business, High Tide Boat Lifts is committed to elevating your craft. Whether you own a personal watercraft or a large yacht, we can design and create the perfect lift for your needs. At High Tide Boat Lifts, we understand that you've worked hard to get to a successful place in life. We'll ensure you have a hassle-free experience, maximizing the time you spend on your boat with family and friends, and supporting your dreams out on the open water.
Karting and motorsport enthusiasts, Lucas Oil School of Racing is America's #1 Formula Car race school. Enjoy modern paddle shifters, pit speed limiter, and onboard video along with integrated data systems. Get started today with our 2-day basic or advanced course. Lucas Oil School of Racing is the official school of the Road to Indy. We can also qualify you for your SCCA license. Get started today by visiting us at www.lucasraceschool.com.
For the first round of the Road to Indy Championships, we are here at the Augusta National of Motorsports in North America, Barber Motorsports Park. This 2.38-mile, 17-turn road course is easily one of the toughest tracks that the Road to Indy drivers are going to have to face in 2021. We're on the front stretch here, headed down into turn 1, one of the toughest corners on the track as you dip through turn 1, hitting the compression at about 120 miles per hour as you go up into turn 2 and get your run set into one of the only passing opportunities into turn 5. As we head out of turn 5, we're headed down into 7, 8, 9. I like to call it tic-tac-toe. As you miss the first curve, you slam the second curve over, up, and into the compression and down through 9. Turn 9 sets your run back into 12 and 13. 12 and 13 are the toughest corners for any race car driver to nail. There is no room for mistake as you drop below 12, you don't see anything up over 13, and you just hope for the best. As you get through turn 14 and 15, you're almost done a lap here at Barber Motorsports Park, but not quite. As you get through turn 17, it sets the run up onto this straightaway, which is one of the most important runs on the track. This track not only sets up great racing for the race car drivers, but it is amazing for the fans. You've got plenty of foliage around the track, lots of art that Mr. Barber's done, and Barber Motorsports Park is known for its fantastic Barber Motorsports Park Museum, which holds many vintage motorcycles and race cars. This is surely set to be one of the best race weekends of the Road to Indy.
The championship's so close you can taste it. Side by side. And your new champion, Christian Rasmussen.
Hold on to me as we go.
As your uncle, I want you to know that on the road to life, there will be rough spots, and they will chew up your tires. I recently took a road trip to Greensville to attend a chili cook-off. Rough roads all the way down. I drove there on these Cooper Discoverer and Duramax tires. You know, they're made with the durability of off-road tires, but for on-road driving. Without them, we might never know the winning bean-to-meat ratio of a good chili. And those are the things in life, my friend, worth driving towards. So go with the Coopers. Cooper! I'm hungry now.
Fans, we are about set to go here for the final of what will be 6 races in the Road to Indy presented by Cooper Tires. My name's Rob Howden. I'm the voice of the Road to Indy and thrilled to be down here on pit lane. Again, this category coming on to pit lane right now. Indy Lights presented by Cooper Tires, just one step away from the NTT IndyCar Series. The likes of Renus VK, Pato O'Ward, Jack Harvey, Felix Rosenquist, the drivers who have moved up in recent years from Indy Lights into IndyCar. These drivers getting set to cap off what has been a double header here, and this should be a fantastic day of competition. Once again, Indy Lights drivers rolling out. A little bit of a late finish there to the Porsche Sprint Challenge, so our teams bringing these cars out here quickly. Should be a little bit of time still. Drivers, of course, rolling out with their travel tires, the used rain tires, before they bolt on the race tires from Cooper. But drivers have worked their way out here now. We will have a look at the grid here when we get some opportunity because, again, just like a little bit of a late start, I believe. We'll take the opportunity to have a look at the grid as they get things underway, starting in the 13th position. One of our many rookies here this year, as we only have, indeed, just 3 returning drivers here for 2021. Christian Bogle for Carlin Racing out of Louisiana in the number 7, going to start in that 13th position. Well, moving up to row number 6, it's Antonio Saravalli in the Passera Racing number 11. The Canadian driver, the rookie, couple years in Indy Pro 2000. A late entry into the series. They put this program together in about a month's time. We're able to get the new Halo-type device installed. And Saravalli will start 12th here today, finding pretty good speed out of the gate. Alongside Antonio on row number 6, a driver born in Russia and living in Los Angeles, Nikita Lastishkin for HMD Motorsports. Nikita in the number 59, coming all the way through the Road to Indy. Started in USF 2000, moved to Indy Pro 2000, and the goal was finally to get here to Indy Lights. 30 years of age, again, out of LA, and looking forward to getting this season underway. A strong run yesterday, and we'll cap off the effort here today at Barber, starting from 11th. Row number 5 on the outside, Daniel Frost from Singapore. Multi-time race winner in Indy Pro 2000. Was scheduled to be part of the 2019 Indy Lights series, but of course the program going on hiatus last year. So again, Daniel Frost starting the Andretti Autosport Denjet number 68 in the 10th position. alongside Daniel Frost on row number 5, the driver who won the Indy Pro 2000 championship last year from Payette, Idaho, Stingray Robb for Juncos Racing. The brilliant white, midnight blue, and red machine Robb, the American, in the number 2, starting in the 9th position. We'll go now to row number 4 on the outside from Australia in the Blundstone Carlin entry, the number 5. Alex Peroni finished 10th last year in the FIA Formula 3 Championship. We're thrilled to have Alex here with us. A top 5 run yesterday for the driver who will start 8th today. Inside of that row from Andretti Autosport, Kyle Kirkwood from Jupiter, Florida. 4 championships over the last 3 years. Let's say 4 years. Didn't run any open wheel racing last year. Kyle Kirkwood, the USF 2000 champion in 2018, the Indy Pro 2000 champion 2019. Another one of our scholarship drivers running here this weekend. Kyle Kirkwood starting in the 7th position. Move up now to row number 3 on the outside. Podium finish yesterday for the driver out of Denmark. It'll be Benjamin Pedersen in the number 24 for Global Racing Group with HMD. The rookie driver starting 6th. And on the inside, a guy that won back in 2019 from Cambridge, England for Juncos Racing. Keep your eye on the number 51 of Toby Sowry. Sowry and Pedersen rather on row number 3. Up now to row number 2 on the outside. Actually, a couple of Andretti drivers here on row 2. It'll be Devlin DiFrancesco, the Canadian for Andretti Steinbrenner Racing. He'll be on the outside of the number 17, the brilliant yellow, black, and orange machine. Pretty easy to pick up on the racetrack. DiFrancesco, runner-up last year in the Indy Pro 2000 category. He's going to start in the 4th position. Inside of row number 2, a winner last year or 2 years ago rather, on the road course at the Indianapolis Motor Speedway, driving for Andretti Autosport in the Sirius machine. Robert McGinnis out of Mount Kisco, New York. McGinnis in his 2nd year in the Indy Lights program. He will start in P3. Andretti has got quicker and quicker throughout this race weekend. 13 drivers in the field, put 2 on the front row. On the outside, it is the driver who won yesterday, dominant in his program last year. This year, running in Indy Lights with a focus on making it to the NTT IndyCar Series, the rookie, Linus Lundqvist from Sweden, a 111.724. Winner yesterday outside of the front row for the start here today, and it will be an all HMD Global front row. The 2 teammates on the front row here. The driver who will be starting on the pole did not get through the opening corner after contact with Kyle Kirkwood. David Malukas out of Chicago, Illinois, in the number 79 machine on the pole, a fast lap of 111.702. David Malukas on the pole, getting set to try to go for career Indy Lights win number 1. So again, a late start for the Indy Lights here as the Porsche Sprint Challenge event went a little bit later into the run. Teams have got the race tires bolted to these Dallara IL-15 chassis. The drivers suited and booted into the cockpits behind these new Halo-type devices that look so great on these race cars. 13 of them getting set to go. All these drivers racing throughout the entire season. We'll cap it off with a West Coast swing, Portland International Raceway, and wrap it up at WeatherTech Raceway, Laguna Seca. We'll find out which driver will win that scholarship worth over $1.1 million, which means 3 races plus the Indianapolis 500 for these drivers. Top 3 in the Indy Lights Championship, also getting IndyCar tests at the end of the season. All these drivers on the cusp of joining the NTT IndyCar Series as the future generation, the next stars of the top level of open wheel motorsports in North America. So once again, drivers down here getting themselves mentally prepared to get back at it. Been a tremendous weekend here at Barber Motorsports Park. We've had 5 different winners in 5 different races. Yuvan Sundaramurthy and Prescott Campbell able to win in USF 2000. Braden Eves and Hunter McElroy scoring the victories in Indy Pro 2000. And of course, Linus Lundqvist getting his Indy Lights campaign off on a great start yesterday with the win. Will we see a 6th different winner? We'll see. But again, the calm before the storm down here on pit lane. The list of drivers who have come through the Indy Lights program is absolutely staggering. Each year at the Indianapolis 500, 23, 24, 25 of the drivers on that 33-car grid have found their way through Indy Lights, have spent time in this tremendous program. And after being on hiatus for 1 year last year due to the COVID-19 pandemic, we come back with 13 cars, a full steam of momentum, and the possibility of new teams coming into the program for 2022. On the front row, as I said, David Malukas, the young American driver who has matured over the last number of years, ready to go for race win number 1, starting on the pole. HMD Motorsports and Turtle Plastics on the side of the race car. And again, a great program with HMD hooking up with Global Racing Services. It'll be those two drivers on the front row. Again, Malukas and Lundqvist on row 1. McGinnis and DeFrancesco on row number 2. Sowery and Pedersen, row 3. Kirkwood and Peroni on row 4. Robb and Frost, row 5. Lastashkin and Saravale on row 6. And Bogle on row number 7. The opening couple of corners crucial here. This particular racetrack, difficult to pass. Overtaking will be about keeping the pressure up on the driver in front of you, trying to force that mistake. Turn 5, the downhill braking zone, the left-hand hairpin, the prime place to overtake. And the interesting thing about that corner, if the driver opens up the inside, you can make that lunge to the bottom. But if he blocks to the inside, runs the defensive line, you can also run the outside and get enough grip there to get a better run outside, because it's a increasing or decreasing radius corner, opens up on the exit. So if you get enough run to the outside and can take the outside apex, you're able to get to the exit point quicker. So a great opportunity to pass there in turn number 5. 1, of course, crucial as well. Excited to have a number of broadcast opportunities throughout the season this year for the drivers here in the Indy Lights program. Of course, if you're here in the U.S., NBC's Peacock channel will carry all of the races live. Up in Canada, Rev TV, the new channel there, has all our Indy Lights races, and as well, The Race and their YouTube channel for international viewers using the audio from IndyCar Radio. Again, 13 drivers in the return of Indy Lights to the North American racing scene. Once again, the entire 3-rung road to Indy back for you here in 2021. Really, you can extend it down to the Lucas Oil School of Racing as well. The champion there gets a scholarship to move up into the USF 2000 program. USF 2000 winner winning a scholarship to go to Indy Lights. Indy Lights to Indy Pro 2000 to Indy Lights. And as so many drivers have done thus far, Indy Lights up into IndyCar. You go back to Spencer Pigot, winning that championship in 2015. Thinking about the drivers who have moved forward. Recent years, Pato O'Ward, Oliver Askew. Who will do it here in 2021? Once again, this kind of late start here, giving these drivers an opportunity to get in those heads and see if they can't mentally prepare themselves for the start of this race, the second of the season. That will take us to some amazing racetracks. We go to, of course, the Grand Prix of St. Petersburg next weekend. Little break in the action before we spend some time in Indianapolis, Indiana. Of course, the Indianapolis Road Course event, the Indy GP. From there, drivers looking forward to heading to Detroit for the first time in a number of years. Indy Lights on the docket for the event in Detroit on Belle Isle. If you want to see these cars really get up and run, stretch their legs, Road America, the long straightaways there. They put a show on at Road America. We'll be there in June, hoping to potentially get ourselves to Toronto, but we'll see what happens with the Toronto event. Mid-Ohio, of course, as well on the July 4th weekend. They'll run the oval at Worldwide Technology Raceway at Gateway. And then, as I said before, that West Coast swing going to Portland International Raceway and capping things off at WeatherTech Raceway, Laguna Seca. So many of the young drivers who come here internationally to come try their hands at Indy Lights and run in the NTT IndyCar Series, they're always looking forward to trying to run that corkscrew. But this season, as we know, kicking off here at Barber Motorsports Park, a tremendous racetrack. And again, these young drivers will wrap up this race, get on the fence, and get a chance to watch exactly where they want to be in 2022, and that's the NTT IndyCar Series. That race will be up next. Those of you who are fans of the Indy Lights program know, just like all levels of this Road to Indy, spec chassis are all along the line. In the USF 2000 Indy Pro categories, we have the Tatis chassis, the Italian builder. New tubs coming next year for those categories. They'll have the Halo-type device on as well. For Indy Lights, back in 2015, we debuted the new Dallara IL-15, put the Halo-type devices on for this year, so the level of safety, of course, up another level for Indy Lights. All the drivers with the same AER power plant, 450 horsepower, Cooper tires all around. And here at Barber Motorsports Park, I think one of the interesting things is between USF 2000, Indy Pro, and Indy Lights, you really see the jump in horsepower, braking, downforce, because it's about a 5-second difference. Indy Pro, 5 seconds quicker than the USF 2000s, and then, again, Indy Lights, 5 seconds quicker than Indy Pro. And with the repave here at the racetrack, we have shattered track records in all 3 of the categories, both qualifying lap records and race lap records. Continue to wait on race control to give us the call to fire these engines. And again, that's just more time for these drivers to kind of hang out in the cockpit, go over their thoughts, go over the race plan, because so many do have that race plan. Now, they always say, though, you have a plan, but it can change pretty quickly because you have to be ready to react to whatever may happen in turn 1, 2, and 3. Your plan obviously is on paper, but you have to have plan B, plan C. You have to be able to react and adapt depending on what happens in the opening couple of corners. Always a factor when it comes to these events, as we have a limited number of tires that they're able to use. 4 sets for 5 sessions. You never really know in terms of qualifying who maybe used 2 sets in qualifying, who held on to maybe a fresher set for race number 2 as opposed to race number 1. Oftentimes depends on where you start. If you're starting up front, let's say you're on pole for race 1, you may put that fresh set of tires on. Let's capitalize and try to get that first victory, and then we'll do what we can in race number 2 to try to salvage some kind of a good position. So you never really know who's got the tires, who's got maybe 2-3 laps on their tires, who has maybe 10 or 15 laps already on the tires. And this track here at Barber Motorsports Park, running in this clockwise direction with so many long radius turns, we really punish the left front Cooper tire here, and the drivers have to really take care. It's one of the things that these drivers have to learn, and how much they do learn on the road to Indy, but they have to learn how to really manage their tires, because when the car is sliding, it's punishing those tires. So the less input you can have into the steering wheel, the better it is, and the better your tires are going to be near the end of what it will be a long run. This race, 35 laps, 5 laps longer than yesterday, a 60-minute time window. And the sun's starting to come up here a little bit as well. I think it's probably the warmest it has been all weekend long. We were, of course, in the 50s in the early mornings. Right now, just waiting to get things underway. Some tremendous racing, as we had said. Those of you who were here all weekend long, I know you enjoyed the races we had in USF 2000. Those drivers in the Tatis USF 17 chassis, 170 horsepower, and just kind of coming out of some of the other lower formulas, some of them right out of national level kart racing into USF 2000. We had some really, really great racing. The sophomore drivers stepping up. Yuvan Sundaramurthy and Prescott Campbell getting the victories in USF 2000. You talk about the progression up from USF 2000 to Indy Pro. Both of the race winners in Indy Pro 2000 this year, multiple victories in USF up into Indy Pro. Braden Eves was the champion in the USF 2000 program in 2019. He won the opening round of the program, and then Hunter McElroy, who challenged Braden Eves for the championship that year, ends up with the victory after last year's champion Christian Rasmussen, a spin and then a 5-second penalty for blocking while leading dropped him back to second position. But really, it was the drivers with all that experience in USF 2000 who found their way to the top of the charts in Indy Pro this year. Again, as you see around the racetrack, the AMR safety team doing their normal checks to make sure that the track is ready to go for our Indy Lights drivers. Porsche Sprint Challenge were out there. You never know if any liquids were put down, fluids or potential damage to cars. They want to make sure that there's no debris on the racetrack. Have to have it in pristine condition, just like Mr. George Barber likes his facility. So make sure the track is absolutely perfect before we send our drivers back out. And you know that we got a couple more races for you here. Future stars ready to go now, and of course, right after them, the NTT IndyCar Series main event. If you're here at an event for the first time, let's say you're a baseball fan, essentially what you've got an opportunity to see here this weekend is single A, double A, triple A, and major leagues. USF 2000, the single A, Indy Pro 2000, double A. Indy Lights right here in front of you right now, triple A baseball. These are the drivers on the cusp of making the jump up to the IndyCar program. And again, as we said, a former Indy Lights champion starting on the pole for the IndyCar race today. Pato O'Ward doing a tremendous job. Of course, he won his championship a couple of years ago with Andretti Autosport. Joseph Newgarden, a former Indy Lights champion as well. Jack Harvey, a couple of years finishing second at Indy Lights. Great to see him find his success with Meyer Shank Racing. Can't wait to see that program continue to develop throughout the years as Jack, one of our favorite drivers from the road to Indy. Felix Rosenquist came rolling in from F3 in Europe and was able to score some big victories, especially on the road, the street courses rather, with Bilardi Auto Racing. Again, Felix plying his trade here, learning these racetracks. Being told, folks, just a couple of minutes away from firing things up right now, 2 minutes before we get things rolling. As the track now, I think, has been cleared by the AMR safety crew, and we are getting ready to get at it. 13 drivers on pit lane here. They've been waiting here for a number of minutes, almost, I want to say, about 20 minutes. These drivers have been waiting to go. Got them bolted in. Got the seat straps down. Ready to get at it. Number of different international drivers here as well. We talked about Linus Lundqvist from Sweden, Devlin DiFrancesco from Canada, Toby Sowery from England, Benjamin Pedersen from Denmark, Alex Peroni from Australia, Daniel Frost from Singapore, Sarah Valley, a Canadian as well. Time winding down and getting the call here from race control. Almost ready to roll. About a minute away, folks, before we fire up the engines. Down here on pit lane. Final opportunity for the mechanics to cinch down the buckles, get these drivers comfortable before we fire these engines and get them underway again. 450 horsepower right behind each and every one of these drivers. So, folks, it's time to fire things up down here on pit lane. The Indy Lights presented by Cooper Tires, the second race of their season. About set to go. From here, they will look forward to the Grand Prix of St. Petersburg, but still work to be done. Joining me down here, ladies and gentlemen, now on pit lane to provide the command to start these drivers, Jacob Odom, the senior project manager from Doster Construction. Ladies and gentlemen, time to get going.
On behalf of everyone at Doster Construction, drivers, start your engines.
And with that, engines come to life. And now we'll pass it on over to the anchor of the IndyCar Radio Network for Indy Lights, Nick Yeoman.
Alabama roller coaster as well. So good to see race fans back at the racetrack.
Yeah, no question. And a picture-perfect weekend at Barber Motorsports Park. And it's you can look at the beautiful blue skies and the white puffy clouds and fans aligned along that backstretch. And, of course, high atop the Alabama roller coaster through 1 and 2. Great crowd on hand today. And welcome back to Barber Motorsports Park.
Field starting to roll off of pit lane. Our pole sitter, David Malukas, alongside him, Linus Lundqvist. Those will be the two that lead them to the green flag. Got a couple good turn announcers out on the course to help us call the action. Down there in the aforementioned Alabama roller coaster, it's turns 2 and 3, is our good friend Michael Young. Good afternoon, Michael.
Good afternoon, Nick. A beautiful day here at Barber Motorsports Park. The field slowly begins to roll off pit lane and through this beautiful course here at Barber Motorsports Park. I will call the action from turn 1 through turn 4. It's basically flat out coming down the front straightaway. They'll make a left-hand turn, use a little bit of a runoff there. They've given a little bit of concrete for the field to run off on. The field will drop 40 feet into a right-hander, which is turn 2, and then drop even further into turn number 3, another 40 feet or so. Then they'll make a nearly 150-degree turn and begin to climb back up that hill. At turn 3, then into turn 4. And as they make their way through the middle portion of this circuit here at Barber Motorsports Park, they have that long middle portion of the course. They will come upon a gigantic spider, which is aptly named Charlotte and Charlotte's Web. And that's when the field will come into the view of our very own Jake Query. Good afternoon, Jake.
Good afternoon, Michael. Thank you so much. And really the crown jewel of this facility is, of course, the Barber Motorsports Park Vintage Museum, which has the largest collection of motorcycles that you will find in North America. When you come to this facility, it's what you want to see. It's what these cars want to see, but they've got some work to do before they get to the portion of the racetrack where the museum rests. And that area that they have to navigate beforehand is exactly what I will be watching as we watch them in turn number 5 is the area just in front of me, which is a slight kink to the right-hand side and then a very tight left-handed hairpin turn that is turn number 6. They go slightly uphill when they come out of that turn, and then it kinks just a little bit to the right once again. Then they go underneath a pedestrian walk bridge that connects itself to the fabulous facility that is the museum here. But that, Nick, is where they leave my view and they come back into the area of the racetrack that you will call as they then take a huge elevation change before becoming right in front of that museum of which we speak.
Field getting one to go as they cross the start-finish line. David Malukas in that red, silver, and black car for HMD Motorsports. He'll be the one leading the field to the green flag. We've heard from Ryan Marine. Let's welcome in Rob Howden down on pit lane. Rob, give me a storyline, a driver you're watching as we're set to go racing here at Barber.
Nick, great to be here. And a little bit of a delay there. Had a lot of fill, but it was a lot of fun. A lot of great stories being told down here on PA. I'll tell you this. I think one of the big stories for me is to see how much better Andretti can get over this entire weekend. We know how much HMD has tested here at Barber Motorsports Park. Some of the other teams getting some more time at other facilities. That may play into their advantage as we get through to the season. Andretti only had a couple of days here, and you could see that in qualifying. You could see that yesterday by talking to both Devlin DeFrancesco and Robert McGinnis. They're really happy with the direction the team is going in terms of the platform, the way the car is set up. You could see that in qualifying for race 2. They've got row 2 locked out, McGinnis on the inside, DeFrancesco on the outside. And I think with Devlin getting that first Indy Lights race in the books, he could be a guy to watch here for another podium as we go racing here on Sunday.
And Ryan, you talked to a lot of the team principals and a couple of the drivers. Seems like despite yesterday, the start of the race being a little disjointed, confidence levels pretty high for everyone down there on pit lane.
That's the way of it in motorsports, isn't it? Everyone's confident going into the race, and why not? I like what Rob was talking about. Can Andretti Autosport bounce back a little bit? Keep in mind, this is the winningest team in Indy Lights history at this track here at Barber. They've won 7 times, including the last 4 until yesterday. So it'll be curious to see if they can bounce back. I'm also curious what Linus Lundqvist can do starting P2. He's not run second much the last couple of years, won all but 2 races in Formula Regional Americas last year. We'll see what he can do with his teammate alongside coming to the green flag.
Field of 13 stacking up in the final couple corners. Soon they will be aligned 2 by 2 as we're set to go racing for 35 laps here at Barber Motorsports Park. 5 more laps than yesterday's race, as it's David Malukas and Linus Lundqvist side by side. Lundqvist finally pulls alongside. All 13 cars on the front straightaway. It's a very slow start as McGinnis brings them all the way down. Now they'll accelerate and see the green flag. Big winner might be Robert McGinnis. He looks to second, but it's Malukas leading him into turn number 1.
Yeah, David Malukas has about a 1-car length advantage over the Lundqvist machine. Then as the rest of the field falls into line, Robert McGinnis, DeFrancesco on the inside, but the big movers, Toby Sowery's going to go down the middle portion of the track.
The leader again, David Malukas, everybody single file, but DeFrancesco tried to look to the inside of Sowery. He got pinched out just a little bit, and now all of a sudden finds himself running in the 6th position. Leader still David Malukas. He works his way now into turn number 8.
Boy, Mark heading down to turn 5. They scattered like marbles on a tabletop. Awful fun on these opening laps. Boy, it looks like that Carlin car, that's the 5 machine of Peroni, got a little sideways at the bottom of the hill.
He did, and that's a troublesome spot, especially if you get on those binders a little too quickly. You're going to cause the grip to go away, especially before you've had a chance to build up ample heat in the tires. But a great start by David Malukas as all kinds of chaos unfolded behind him. He kept it pointed in the right direction and is already already opened up a pretty sizable lead.
Yeah, it's a nice lead for David Malukas as they roar through the carousel. It's the final couple corners on this racetrack. Right, a turn, and then back to the left as the leaders back out of the front straightaway. The lead for David Malukas across the start-finish line after lap 1. 0.6 of a second as the field roars back into the 1.
Malukas steps out ever so slightly the back end of that car. He has about a 4-car length advantage. A much better beginning for David Malukas. Yesterday he was out at the exit of turn number 1. Jakey's got an 8-car length advantage.
Boy, that advantage seemingly is growing just a little bit, moving into turn number 6. Everybody single file. Interesting because when they came down the main straight, the field was kind of weaving, trying to disrupt air just a little bit for those running behind them. The front two, Nick, are starting to check out just a little bit.
And the best news of all, Davey Hamilton, is after lap 1, we don't have one buried in a tire barrier. A clean and fast start here in Indy Lights.
Nobody took any gambles going into turn 1, which was the right thing to do, obviously. Now we got a nice, they're all close together, but until these tires start wearing out, guys, we're going to see them single file here, just kind of riding out, see what they have for a setup. But as the laps go, the heat's going to get up in these tires. They're going to start wearing out. Fuel load's going to go down as well. The light air today, a lot less downforce, so it's going to be exciting later on in this race.
Yeah, there's no doubt on certain parts of this racetrack, those cars look absolutely planted around this racetrack. Michael, how do they look in turn 1 in terms of that Alabama roller coaster?
Well, the field kind of spread out at this moment, although the lead for Malukas is kind of gathered back up a little bit as Lundquist really starting to make a charge there in the 3rd position. Of course, Robert McGinnis, but he loses a little bit. Malukas extends that lead about 9 car lengths.
Tip of the cap to the 4th place running right now, Alex Peroni, because he has actually made up 4 spots from the start of the race itself. Everybody single file now. Those first couple of laps, a little bit frantic as Nick had talked about, those marbles rolling all over. Now everybody calming down just a little bit in the early stages of this race.
Mark, we watched that bright yellow car of Devlin DeFrancesco, currently runs in the 6th position. Went a little wide through the Alabama roller coaster. I know there's a lot of different lines you can use there, but that certainly opens the door for him to get past. He was able to hold off Benjamin Pedersen.
Yeah, and he can't drive with the mirrors. I mean, he's got Pedersen and Frost that have really drawn a bead on him, and he's kind of losing track of 5th place running Toby Sowery. But I think a very clean start, much cleaner, obviously, than the start we had yesterday. And I know much is made of the Alabama roller coaster, and much is also made, of course, of Charlotte's Web. We mentioned that a lot. One of my favorite portions of the racetrack is when they clear the museum and they're really full song of that short little straightaway, and it's almost a switchback through turn 10 and 11, and then they're full throttle all the way up to 12, and they're really fast through 12 and 13 before they have to climb on the binders. We've got a really great view thanks to the camera angle and our multi-screen monitors, and any car in any series just looks so bad fast in this picturesque setting through that portion of the racetrack.
I think the coolest thing is you think our view is good. It's all those fans underneath the tree lines
they
there.
They figured it out.
And I've been calling it the back stretch for years. It's anything but a stretch because, as you mentioned, it bends back to the left and to the right. But that is, I mean, outside of maybe the roar down to turn 5, fastest part of this racetrack?
Yeah, I don't think there's any question. And the thing is, what I like about these natural terrain road courses that we run on in this series is the fact that it's so incredibly fast, but then once you get to turn 12, it's that technical portion of the course. And Davey Hamilton, you talked about it a little bit, kind of echoing the sentiments of Connor Daly. Once you get through 12 and 13, you're really going to feel it when you get through 14, 15, and 16.
Yeah, that thing is loaded down, and the steering wheel is very, very heavy, guys. And that's one reason on this track the talent rises to the top here, guys. I mean, you have to have some bravery, but the talent also to keep the tires underneath these cars. And I have to say, I'm impressed with, Peroni. He's moved up 4 spots. He did that, guys, all on the outside of turn 5 and 6 on that opening lap on those cold tires. So good car control, obviously, it showed me from him. Got those spots before everybody started getting somewhat average speeds for everybody. I mean, once, like right now, we see him just kind of 5-6 car lengths in between each of them. But, guys, wait. As these tires wear down, things are going to start changing. It's going to tighten them back up again.
Yeah, Peroni runs in that 4th position. Next driver on his hit list is Robert McGinnis, who runs in 3rd. Those two separated by about 0.6 of a second. So we may have a nice battle for 3rd. Alex Peroni, 21 years old, driving for Carlin Racing. He's from Tasmania, Australia. Spent some time running over in Europe in Formula 3, makes the transition this year over to Indy Lights, and with it, he brings Carlin Racing back in Indy Lights, which is awful nice to see as well. He runs in that 4th position. Up front, though, it's David Malukas and Linus Lundqvist, separated by about 8 car lengths as they head to turn number 1 and Michael Young.
Yeah, last time by, Lundqvist had closed that gap ever so slightly. Malukas really working his way through that turn number 3 portion right now, but that big battle, as we had talked about, McGinnis and Peroni as they climb the hill through turn number 4. Peroni starting to make a beat on Robert McGinnis.
Let's take a look here and see if Peroni's able to make a move. Boy, McGinnis really locked him up going into turn number 6 because he saw Peroni in his mirrors, was able to hold him off. That all of a sudden checked up Peroni just a little bit, which allowed Toby Sowery to get in there. But again, they maintain the same order. McGinnis holding on to 3rd.
Pretty good battle for this 3rd position as Peroni locks him up at the top of the hill near the museum. That allows McGinnis to skate away by about 2 or 3 car lengths. As those two set up the battle, though, Mark, as you see at Indy Lights, it's like an accordion. All of a sudden, that green and white Junco's car of Toby Sowery enters the picture.
Yeah, we're liking Toby Sowery. We look for big things from Toby this year. Obviously, a veteran driver in this series, and one of those guys that, in his 2nd season, it's not out of the question nowadays. We've seen it over the past handful of years when guys can actually run a 3rd season in Indy Lights, but I think his goal is a championship and to move up, and he hopes to catch up with a guy that's probably the same mindset in Robert McGinnis, who's currently running 3rd.
Working lap number 6 here in the Indy Lights Series presented by Cooper Tires, keeping an eye on a good battle for 3rd. Jake Query, they're headed to turn number 5. Alex Peroni looks like he's got a nice run. Can he get alongside McGinnis?
Peroni is going to try to do just that, but McGinnis hugs that inside line very tightly through turn number 6, and that keeps Peroni at bay. Call it about a car length and a half. It's about a car length and a half as well from Toby Sowery, who finds himself behind Peroni running in 5th.
Back down the hill, they'll snake their way through turns 8 and 9 as Toby Sowery heavy on the accelerator, trying to chase down that driver for Carlin Racing, Alex Peroni. This is the battle for 3rd, 4th, and 5th. Look at your running order right now. It is David Malukas, your race leader. He's led every lap so far from the pole position. His lead over Linus Lundqvist has grown to 1.3 seconds. Robert McGinnis runs in 3rd, 3.6 seconds behind. And you can throw a blanket over the next couple drivers. Alex Peroni, the rookie driver, runs in 4th. Toby Sowery for Junco's Racing is 5th. Devlin DeFrancesco, fresh off of a podium finish, runs in the 6th position. Benjamin Pedersen is 7th. Daniel Frost is 8th. Kyle Kirkwood, the rookie driver, runs in the 9th spot. Nikita Lastushkin is 10th. Stingray Robb is in 11th right now. Christian Bogle is 12th. And the last driver, Antonio Saravalli, runs in the 13th position. Let's go back to pit lane for some updates. Rob Howden, always kind of chasing the technical gremlins and the challenges that face these Indy Lights teams throughout the course of a weekend.
Well, Nick, one of the issues for this particular weekend, as those know, with the push-to-pass option in both IndyCar and Indy Lights, is something that we don't have at our disposal. Neither do the drivers here this particular weekend. Normally, that push-to-pass offering 50 additional horsepower once you get to within 1.5 seconds of the driver in front, and it's a 15-second horsepower advantage. We were not able to get that to be utilized here this weekend. We have a qualifying session, 2 qualifying sessions, 2 races, and just 1 practice session. And during the practice session, we had some issues with the timing lines. We have to have those lines to make sure that the driver, of course, is within 1.5 seconds. And that way, then they understand and see on their steering wheel that they have push-to-pass available. Because of the issues we had with the electronics, we weren't able to activate it. Now, they got it fixed. They said they were 99% sure that the push-to-pass was fixed. But Tony Kottman and Darrell Fox, the technical crew and the race control crew for Indy Lights, said, you know what, if we can't guarantee it 100%, we can't activate push-to-pass. Obviously, if 7 guys have it and 6 guys don't, it's just not going to work. So they'll make sure things are dialed back in for St. Petersburg to have that push-to-pass available. But on a racetrack like this, Barber Motorsports Park, as we know, it is so tough to overtake here. That 50% would have made, or 50 horsepower would have made things so much easier. Instead, these drivers are going to have to pressure the driver in front of them. They don't have that extra oomph heading down the straightaway. It's all about pressuring the guy in front, trying to force that mistake. But at the same time, I know that Davey Hamilton can talk about this, one of the things about this racetrack, a lot of long radius corners, and when you're in behind someone, you get that aero wash. You don't get that air coming over the wing, and Davey, we can talk about it. It really, really punishes the front tires.
Yeah, absolutely, and that's why later in this race, you'll see who's being punished by using up those front tires. And as we talked about earlier, is these straightaways are so fast going into super tight corners. For example, you go down into 5 and 6, man, that's 180 tight corner, and it wears those tires out. But then again, you go back into 12, 13, 14, as we talked about, the G-forces there. If you feel the G-forces in your hands and your arms and it's hard to turn, those tires are feeling the same thing. They're just getting tortured down there. So that's one thing with these kids they have to learn is definitely management of your tire to make sure that you're not going to wear those out, especially the fronts, because as you said, if you don't no air on that front wing, it's already wanting to slide a little bit. You wear those tires out, you're in big trouble.
So, Mark, it becomes very interesting without push to pass, because I think as long as I've ever followed open wheel racing, it's what you want to talk about, something that can get some fans start to arguing. Push to pass. Right. Some look at it as hey, it's a great advantage. It helps the show. Other fans like the idea of this kind of race where it is 100% pure talent, no extra additives. So we're going to get to see who can hustle these cars around the racetrack without the assistance of some extra horsepower.
Well, and I think, too, what comes into play, and we talked a little bit about it, Rob referenced it, and some of the drivers talked about it, too, is, even in the NTT IndyCar series, when you talk about tire deg, I mean, let's give Cooper a lot of credit for the durability of the tire. I mean, I can't remember any time in recent memory where it's been a construction failure on a tire. I mean, guys run over debris, they cut tires, but boy, to take that push to pass element, just put it totally and completely in the driver's hands. I think that's what the purists prefer most assuredly. And it's interesting to note, Nick, that this race is shaping up very much like yesterday's race did. The front runner with a lead of 2.7 seconds, but then you go back third, fourth, fifth, sixth. That's where things get to be a bit more compelling and fascinating and interesting to watch, as much like yesterday's race was.
Yeah, there's no doubt. I mean, based on what we saw in the testing here at Barber Motorsports Park and throughout the practice sessions and qualifying, Rob Howden, I want to bring you on this. I don't think any of us are surprised that maybe David Malukas and Linus Lundqvist are starting to pull away from everybody, because so far those two have seemingly been the class of this Indy Lights field in this very, very early point of the season.
Well, no doubt about that, Nick. And again, we talked about the testing they've done here at Barber Motorsports Park, but you don't want to lean it all on that, simply because the fact that, you look at it, but just over a year ago, David Malukas was the fastest driver in that one and only practice session that we had at the Grand Prix of St. Petersburg. And if you recall that interview, those of you who may not listen to it, David was over the moon. He was so unbelievably happy with the car, with the team. The people they had assembled to go around him were very strong. HMD is a new team to Indy Lights, as is Global Racing Group. But the people, the team they've assembled, just as you would assemble the starting lineup for a basketball team in the NBA, they have some amazing guys that have been in other teams. Andretti, Juncos, guys with championship pedigree. They've done what they needed to do to put the people around David Malukas, and now Linus Lundqvist and Benjamin Pedersen and Nikita Lashtushkin. They've assembled a great team here, and this is not surprising. They put a lot of money into testing in the offseason, and they really focused at Barber Motorsports Park. Nick, maybe there was a thought of, hey, you know what? We need to come in here, we need to win some races, and we need to get the momentum we need for the rest of the season, because if that indeed is the case, and at the end of the season in Monterey, California at Laguna, we're giving one of these guys a championship trophy, that could have been a brilliant stroke here in 2021.
Yeah, there's no doubt that in terms of the checklist, that HMD and GRG group are checking a lot of boxes early in this season, as David Malukas leads by 2.6 seconds over Linus Lundqvist, but it's a full 8.3 seconds over third-place running Robert McGinnis. And, Michael, let's take a peek once again at that battle for third, because it just feels like Robert McGinnis might be holding up this train a little bit. Give him credit, though. He's holding off Alex Peroni.
Yeah, indeed he is. Robert McGinnis about a 2-car length advantage over Peroni. Equal distance then back to Toby Sowery, then DeFrancesco. Another battle that is shaping up is a battle for 7th position. That is Daniel Frost and Kyle Kirkwood, who was out earlier, was off early. But Jake Query, it's good battles all the way back through the field.
Yeah, Kirkwood has really been working on Frost. As a matter of fact, as they go into 6 now, he is right on the rear wing of Frost, but not able to make that move as they go into the elevation change. The other story, Nick, so far in the first third or so of this race is the fact that David Malukas continues to now extend his lead, and he's doing so over a driver that was equally dominant a day ago.
Yeah, Jake, as they roar down the backstretch in front of the fans, right now it's almost a full 3-second lead for David Malukas, so he has not put a wheel wrong. This is his sophomore season in Indy Lights. Wasn't able to score a victory in that rookie season back in 2019, but boy, he is certainly well on his way. Still 23 laps to go, but Michael, as he roars in front of you, just how fast and planted does Malukas look around Barber Motorsports Park?
He's done a lot better. There is a bit of a runoff area at the exit of turn number 1 and the entrance of turn number 2, and so many drivers have run off there that it's kind of created a rut, so the drivers are trying to avoid it right now as the machine of Robert McGinnis makes his way through that portion of the course. But as the guys get out there, Nick, that's a handful for them to get back onto the track, and for Robert McGinnis starting to see Peroni close in on his rear wing.
Yep, McGinnis is again trying to hold off, and he starts to break a little bit early. Sorry, Nick, as Peroni closes in. I thought Peroni might be able to make that move, but McGinnis gets himself a little breathing room. He's accelerating out of 6.
I mean, Mark, give Robert McGinnis a lot of credit. Clearly not as fast as Alex Peroni, but fast enough to fend off any challenge. It's not like Peroni's really even been close enough to show him a front wing or a front tire.
Well, it's going to be interesting to note just how quickly those three start to get a little impatient that are stacked up behind him, because Pedersen and Frost are now starting to pull up on that group, and you're going to have a train of about 5 or 6 cars there that are going to be in hot pursuit of Robert McGinnis for sure.
Yeah, as of right now, it is, it's third all the way back to 9th.
Right.
Kyle Kirkwood he's kind of crept into the picture. Those drivers snaked their way back out on the front straightaway. Again, just a tremendous battle for third with 21 laps to go. Robert McGinnis, Michael, heads to turn 1 once again.
Yeah, it looks like he's pulled away a little bit from Peroni, a 2-car length gap, and then Toby Sowery. Everybody settled in. Di Francesco's fallen back about 3 car lengths. Now Daniel Frost starting to close in on the rear wing of Pedersen as they climb back up the hill here, come down to Charlotte's Web.
Yep, they work their way now into turn number 6, that hairpin, and McGinnis this time breaks a little bit later. Peroni checks up. Sowery now, that might be the better battle, is the fact that Toby Sowery is trying really hard to get himself into that 4th position. He's got to get around Peroni if he wants to do it.
Boy, he was right in his tire tracks trying to use that slipstream, that draft, heading to turns 8 and 9. He got a nice run, got right up underneath the rear wing of that Carlin car, but not able to pull out and try to make a pass. And the reality is, Davey, I mean, outside of turn number 5, at this portion of the racetrack, the back half of the lap, you have to get single file and kind of follow that car in front of you.
You really do. Now, if a guy makes a mistake, you can make, some other areas, passing zones on this facility, but they have to make a mistake in front of you, and you need to be there to take advantage of it. And right now, the first 2 guys we have, I mean, they've pretty much checked out. Matter of fact, Lundqvist in second. He basically has 9 seconds over McGinnis, who's in that third spot. But then from there back, man, they are on top of each other. I mean, they're within really a second and a half between 3rd place and 7th place.
Well, we've been watching this battle for 3rd position and watching the young Australian driver Alex Peroni try to get around Robert McGinnis. Of course, Carlin Racing back in Indy Lights, and Ryan Marine is standing by with the man who heads up that operation.
That's right. It's great to have Carlin Racing back in the Indy Lights series. Alex Peroni, just his 2nd Indy Lights race, running 4th, challenging for a podium. What have you seen from Alex so far this weekend and in this race in particular?
Well, it's been a steep learning curve for him, but he's done really well, and for us, because we've been out of Indy Lights for a few years. So, we're glad to be competing. I think Alex is actually getting held up by McGinnis, so fingers crossed we can get ahead and start catching the leaders.
And Christian Bogle, the other driver that you bring to Indy Lights this year for fans at home, what can you say to kind of introduce Christian to the fans of the Indy Lights series?
Yeah, he's a fabulous young man. He's doing a dual program this year. He's doing Indy Lights to be ready for a big challenge next year. And it's tough, but he's doing a brilliant job. I'm really happy with him.
It's been a few years since you folks have been involved in Indy Lights. What brought you back?
Oh, it's just the climate. There were more drivers around, and it made sense. I mean, we love Indy Lights. It's where we started. We believe in the road to Indy, and we just want to be part of it.
Last thing, you're a very busy guy with a big program, not just here with this and also the 1 car in the NTT IndyCar Series, but programs in the UK and in Europe. How do you keep it all straight? How do you know where to be on a given weekend?
Well, that's the hardest bit, remembering where I need to be. But to be honest, I've got fabulous guys. Colin Hale runs this team and the IndyCar team. So really, I just turn up and drink coffee. So it's easy.
Thank you for the time, Trevor.
My pleasure.
That is Trevor Carlin, owner of the Carlin Motorsports operation. They've been very impressive in all the junior formulas, and once again, back here in Indy Lights, a former championship-winning team in this series.
And our timing with that interview with Mark was unfortunate for Carlin Racing, because all of a sudden we saw Alex Peroni lose a couple positions. He was running fourth, challenging Robert McGinnis, and then all of a sudden, the bottom of the hill, that car, I don't know if it lost power.
Yeah, I don't know. It's really odd, but whatever it was momentary, and he was able to get back. It appears as though full song, but certainly down a couple of spots.
So as we run with 18 laps to go, David Malukas' lead over his teammate Linus Lundqvist is 3.4 seconds. Robert McGinnis runs in third. Jake, let's take a peek at that battle for third, because Toby Sowery has caught McGinnis, and it looks like he's trying to set him up.
Interesting you mentioned that, because I thought to myself, Toby Sowery, who goes to the inside, locks him up just a little bit, now goes side by side with McGinnis out of turn number 6, is going to take that spot as he starts to creep away by a half a car length, but McGinnis is glued to him on the outside.
They are going side by side. Mark Janes heading to turns 8 and 9, and it looks like McGinnis is able to sneak back ahead.
And they close up behind him as well. DiFrancesco and Peroni right there. So lots of great racing action through a very tricky portion of the race course. And Nick, we mentioned earlier, those are some of the areas where you're supposed to go single file, but somebody forgot to tell these young drivers.
Davey Hamilton, there's not a lot of real estate there in turns 8 and 9. I'm surprised and actually impressed that those drivers didn't make any contact.
Yeah, right there, Sowery was ahead. He had that line coming off of turn 6. Unfortunately, turn 7, it left him on the outside, and McGinnis at that point, he just kept his foot in it, even though he was behind Sowery. Only one of them was going to get through there at a time, and Sowery chose the wiser to lift and let him go and try to get in here in another corner.
Ryan Marine, any explanation as to what might have happened to Alex Peroni to drop him from 4th to 6th?
Sort of. I checked with the team, and they said he just lost power. It's going now, but they're not quite sure what would have caused it.
Yeah, very bizarre situation, but as Mark pointed out, Alex Peroni has regathered it, and this battle continues to be a good one from 3rd on back to the 9th position, from McGinnis all the way back to Kyle Kirkwood. And Mark seeing a replay of that battle between he and Sowery, McGinnis and Sowery down there in turn 5, got awful close with those guys going wheel to wheel.
And you know what? You'll see that a bit in the NTT IndyCar series. I mean, you think you've got that pass made as you set up for turn 5, but off of turn number 6, that driver to the high side will stay in it. Barely brush the grass on the outside of the racetrack through 7, and then stay in the throttle through that little short straightaway between 7 and 8. So that's an opportunity for you to kind of make up some ground, and your momentum's carrying you around the outside of that corner. You get back into the throttle a little quicker. You'll see NTT IndyCar Series drivers defend their position in that same manner, and I think that speaks to the experience of Robert McGinnis on this racetrack in that car.
Yeah, there's no doubt. The faster these cars get and the higher up along the road to Indy, closer you get to IndyCar, the different opportunities you have to jump on that throttle around this just spectacular 17-turn road course in Birmingham, Alabama. It's David Malukas, your race leader, with 16 laps to go. Full field rundown. Linus Lundqvist runs in second. He's 3.1 seconds back. Those two, though, have flat checked out on everybody. It is a 16.5-second lead for Malukas over third-place running Robert McGinnis. And then on back, you can separate all these cars by about 2 or 3 car lengths. It is one heck of an impressive train from 3rd all the way back to 9th. It's McGinnis in 3rd, Toby Sowery in 4th, Devlin DiFrancesco runs in 5th, Alex Peroni is 6th, Benjamin Pedersen is 7th, Daniel Frost is 8th, Kyle Kirkwood is 9th, then a couple seconds back, it's Nikita Lastishkin in the 10th position, Stingray Robb, Christian Bogle, and Antonio Saravalli round out the field. Michael Young, let's take a look at that battle for 3rd. It continues to be a good one here at Barber.
Boy, and they're equally spaced out from 3rd through 9th. So there is Robert McGinnis as he has Toby Sowery trying to close that gap again. DeFrancesco right behind them, and then it's a machine of Alex Peroni. They make their way down to Charlotte's Web.
And again, McGinnis has Sowery right there. Right when McGinnis starts to break going into the hairpin, Sowery bunches right up on him, but then he's got to get into the brakes himself. That allows McGinnis a little bit of breathing room. They're evenly spaced right now, McGinnis, Sowery, and DeFrancesco.
Yeah, McGinnis holds them off by about 2 or 3 car lengths as they set up for the downhill portion back to the left and right down in turns 8 and 9. All these cars from 3rd on back to 9th just separated by 2 or 3 car lengths. Going to be interesting here in the last 10 to 15 laps to see who has managed those tires, because there's no doubt, Mark, they're all driving the wheels off those cars right now, trying to get every spot they can.
Yeah, and I think, if you're talking about being hard on him, while he was certainly defending his position, we get that. You can bet adding to the wear and tear was McGinnis with that really strong move off of turn number 6 to defend that position through 7. Tip of the cap to Kyle Kirkwood. I mean, he has little by little been able to stay with that pack and catching up with Frost and Pedersen and Peroni, and hopefully Kyle Kirkwood can pick up a couple of positions as the talented rookie is trying to stay with that pack of about 5 or 6 cars there competing for that 3rd position.
With 14 laps to go, David Malukas and Linus Lundqvist on a nice Sunday drive running 1-2. And Rob Howden, you're standing by with someone down on pit lane who has to be awful pleased with how this race is going right now.
Yeah, joining me down here on pit lane right now from HMD Motorsports team manager Mike Marini. Now, Mike, obviously you've been around the sport for a long time. You have the juggernauts of Andretti. You've got Juncos, multi-time champion. Same with Carlin. Over the offseason, you and HMD Motorsports have put together a fantastic group of guys and a great group of drivers as well. How satisfying is it to have this kind of weekend coming out of the gate with Linus winning yesterday and David and Linus running 1-2 right now?
Yeah, I mean, yesterday was a little bit of a disappointment for David, the first corner incident, but Linus and Benjamin, 1st and 2nd, you can't ask for a better debut, I guess, to the season for HMD and the global program. Today, I mean, fingers crossed, but things looking good right now.
Obviously, Henry Malukas, a fantastic owner. You've got Christian Pedersen there as well from Global Racing Group. But can you talk a little bit about the concept of putting together the team around them? David mentioned that last year, when we got shut down at St. Petersburg. He loved the team, loved the atmosphere. It's almost like putting together a good basketball team or a good hockey team, right? You have to have the right players in the right spot.
Yeah, we're doing our homework in the off season and trying to put the right people in the right places. There's a lot of experience under the tent, and I mean a lot. Like, it rivals an IndyCar team. So obviously the goal for the future is to win this championship and win races, be on the podium, and then see what happens next year.
You're obviously on the groundswell. You're talking to drivers around the world who potentially could come to HMD and Global for next year. What is your feel on the momentum that Indy Lights has right now?
Oh man, it's incredible. I mean, if it can continue this next year and have 17, 18 cars, grow to 20, I mean, I wouldn't be any other place.
Mike, thanks for the time.
Thank you, Rob.
Mike Marini, guys, the team manager for HMD Motorsports. They put together a tremendous lineup right now. The drivers are looking good, and like he said, a lot of momentum for 2022.
And I get excited, Mark, anytime we see a new team to Indy Lights, knowing that there's always the potential, if things go well, 4 or 5 years from now, maybe we get an opportunity to see them in IndyCar, because time and time again, whether it's been Juncos or Carlin, we've seen teams make that jump.
Well, yeah, and I think that's the key. We've talked about it from time to time each and every year that I think is most impressive about this form of racing is, a lot of the focus is on the drivers and their opportunities to move up. But race teams and certainly engineers, the guys over the wall working on these cars, opportunity for them to move up as well. And not only is it great to see new teams come on board, but it's also great to see teams like Carlin Racing come back to Indy Lights and hear the great things that Trevor Carlin had to say about this series and their desire to be involved in it. So, yeah, I agree. It's healthy, it's strong, and it appears to be growing for sure.
And I shouldn't downplay how good it is that they're involved with Indy Lights, too. And it's not always this look ahead towards the IndyCar series, because Davey Hamilton flat out, we need teams that get involved in this ladder system and the road to Indy to help train these drivers to get them ready for IndyCar. Clearly, the HMDs and global racing groups of the world, they serve a purpose, and certainly they're putting on a show today.
Yeah, absolutely. Majority of our drivers, guys, come out of the Road to Indy series that graduate into the NTT IndyCar series, which is great. Now, every now and then we'll get a guy like Jimmy Johnson to show up, or a couple other guys, McLaughlin out of sports cars. But you know what? Majority of our guys come out of this, so it's great having them here on the same weekend that IndyCar's here. So all the owners are able to see what these kids can do. And by the way, the Andretti group, the Carlin group, the guys that own these cars and own Indy cars, it's easy to just stick them right, move them up the ladder fairly quick. Ooh, we got some smoke on the tire. Oh, down in turn 5 and 6 right there. A good one between Sowery and McGuinness.
Toby Sowery completely locked up, Nick, his brakes, trying to get inside of Robert McGuinness. These two have been going toe-to-toe for the last couple of circuits. McGuinness able to hold on to that spot. Sowery had a run on him, locked him up. DeFrancesco almost got locked up into that battle as well. But once again, they maintain order. McGuinness in third, Sowery in fourth. DeFrancesco holds on to fifth.
Yeah, that was a good jump in there, Jake. I knew you had a bird's eye view of that battle. Mark, this is tightening up. Robert McGuinness, I think, starting to feel the pressure a little bit as Toby Sowery's really hustling that car around him.
3 out of the last 4 laps, I think, going into turn number 5. And be interesting to see if Toby Sowery tries a different line next time, maybe gets to the other side of McGuinness, but McGuinness is making those elbows plenty wide again off of turn number 6. He stays to the high side of the setup at turn number 7.
And they'll head down towards turn number 1 once again to Michael Young.
Yeah, and for Robert McGuinness, the last time by it, he does it again. Toby Sowery drives wide, drivers left to let Robert McGuinness know he's coming. They climb the hill to turn number 4. The advantage for McGuinness, 3 car lengths. Here comes DeFrancesco as well.
Question is for all 3 of these drivers is as they've locked them up through this area the last time by, and now nearly everybody's starting to do so, are those Cooper tires going to lose grip just a little bit? Robert McGuinness, hope it happens behind him, but he's got, again, Toby Sowery 3 car lengths back, and then DeFrancesco.
Boy, a good battle for the 8th position as Daniel Frost locked him up. His teammate Kyle Kirkwood trying to find a way around. Kirkwood has that front wing of that car right up underneath the rear attenuator, the rear tires of Daniel Frost's car, and Mark just not able to get there. But boy, all these guys hustle in those Cooper tires. It looked like at least 6 of the 9 smoked them down there in turn number 5.
Kirkwood tries to get another run at the entrance to turn number 12. He breaks a little later and hopes to close up, and he's not able to do it now. This is pretty much single file now through 14, 15, 16, and 17. We'll see off of 17 if Kirkwood's able to gain any measure of momentum and start to set him up as they clear that Alabama roller coaster.
9 laps to go here at Barber Motorsports Park. The battle for third once again in turns 1 and 2.
And Sowery swings wide again, but this time a lot closer than he was before. Meanwhile, further back, that battle for 8th, Frost and Kyle Kirkwood. They're all over the place, driving down into turn number 5. The battle's for third.
Kirkwood has Frost in front of him, and it literally, as that other battle we're talking about gets very tight with Sowery taking a look at McGuinness through turn number 6, not able to do anything. Now Kirkwood is going to try to get in on Frost. He had him to the inside, but Frost shut the door. Kirkwood now going to try to go back to the inside. This again is the battle for 8th.
Kirkwood got behind Frost's car, got a little draft, and it's going to be exactly what he needs. He popped to the outside, and Davey Hamilton, that's as bold of a pass as you'll see at Barber Motorsports Park for Kyle Kirkwood. Move him into 8th.
I have to say, Frost's front tires must just be gone right now because he didn't even challenge him. He was actually ahead of him going down into that turn 7 corner, but probably just didn't have the braking power he needed, and Kirkwood flew by him. Risky place, but nice pass.
Just really good racing with 8 laps to go as these drivers, a lot of them finding out for the first time how much punishment these Cooper tires can take with just 8 laps to go. It's Malukas and Lundquist running 1-2, but Michael, we continue to watch McGuinness try to hold off Sowery.
Yeah, it's getting to be go time, and Toby Sowery again swings wide, drivers left, letting Robert McGuinness know he's there. Boy, he's really got a good jump coming out of turn number 3. 2 car lengths McGuinness into Toby Sowery.
McGuinness now right smack dab in the middle of the racetrack, swung it a little bit wide, setting up for turn number 6. Everybody bunching up and locking up behind him, but again, he gets a little bit of breathing room. 2 car length advantage over Toby Sowery. Sowery's got DeFrancesco right behind him.
Out of turns 6 and 7, McGuinness leads Sowery by a couple car lengths, then 2 more from Sowery back to Devlin DeFrancesco, and then it is nose to tail with Peroni, Pedersen, and then the charging Kyle Kirkwood down the back straightaway. Mark, this is good stuff. I mean, all it takes is for one guy like Robert McGuinness to be just a little bit slower, and it's stacking these guys up.
Kirkwood has cleared Frost, and now he wants to pull side by side on the Pedersen into turn number 12. He wisely lifts out of it, so he doesn't lose the grip going going into that series of turns, but I think it's a matter of time before Kyle Kirkwood's able to pick up that 7th position.
Boy, and right ahead of them, it looks like Peroni trying to get around Devlin DiFrancesco. They dice it up out of turn number 17. Michael, let's take a look at that battle as Benjamin Pedersen goes off track. But how about the battle for 5th with DiFrancesco?
Boy, Peroni nearly ran wide, lost some ground to DiFrancesco. Again, that's the battle for that 5th position. DiFrancesco able to pull out 5 car lengths, but Sowry now in the charge again with Robert McGinnis.
Now this time, Sowry, boy, he took a huge shot to the outside, went side by side with McGinnis, thought he was going to be able to close it, and then McGinnis pulls away again out of turn number 6. Sowry had his shot. McGinnis let him go wide. Then McGinnis pulled away as they went back up the hill.
And behind them, Kyle Kirkwood's got a strong charge on Alex Peroni. He just got around Benjamin Pedersen. Behind them, they're going side by side as it looks like Stingray Robb and Nikita Lastushkin, who are now in this mix as well. They've run 10th and 11th for the majority of this race. This accordion effect, though, is awful impressive. It is Robert McGinnis running in 3rd, trying to hold off Toby Sowry with 6 laps to go. The lead for David Malukas, 4 seconds over Linus Lundqvist. I promise we're not ignoring those two on purpose. They've been dominant, but the battle throughout the pack has been absolutely tremendous. Once again, on the front straightaway, it's McGinnis, followed by Sowry and DiFrancesco across the start-finish line with 6 laps to go. Michael, back into turn 1.
Boy, Toby Sowry has tried every trick in the book, and now Robert McGinnis a little slow out of turn number 1. They'll go 2 wide, 3 wide. Something wrong with Robert McGinnis. DiFrancesco will take that 3rd position. Climbing up the hill now, Sowry will look to the inside.
It's a flat tire for Robert McGinnis, and DiFrancesco now has just beside him Toby Sowry, and DiFrancesco is going to hold on to that position, put him in the 3rd spot here through turn number 6. Sowry just behind him. You gap back just a little bit, and then it's Kirkwood and Peroni.
Davey, it looks like a left front tire for Robert McGinnis.
Yeah, absolutely was, and that tells you he's punishing that tire. Maybe he got some debris and cut it. I'm not sure. We'll have to look at it, but definitely a left front tire went down and no chance. Just he's going to have to limp it back around, and that's the end of his day.
Yeah, pretty remarkable, the battle throughout the course of this race. Tough break for Robert McGinnis. Mark, we were just wondering how many of the guys pounding these Cooper tires, and clearly for the young driver from New York, he found the edge.
Yeah, and I think the majority of it occurred when he was constantly having to defend that position through 5, 6, and then the setup at turn number 7. I mean, he was really, really wearing that left front out on that race car each and every time. The last, 7 or 8 laps, it seemed like that Toby Sowry was just wearing him out through that 5, 6, 7 portion of the racetrack.
And I think the amazing thing is Sowry makes the pass for 3rd, and he only keeps it for a matter of a couple seconds because DiFrancesco was Johnny on the spot, aggressive to get around Sowry. So ultimately it was DiFrancesco who is +2 in that little sequence. It's Malukas, Lundqvist, DiFrancesco. That's your podium as they run right now. Toby Sowry runs 4th. Kyle Kirkwood is 5th. Alex Peroni is 6th. Davey, I know you can see this replay. We don't get to see him go 3 wide through the Alabama roller coaster or really anywhere at Barber Motorsports Park very often.
Yeah, and how about that? Sowry committed to the outside all the times to do it. The guy you're passing has a left front tire going and kind of runs you out of room. And he didn't gain. He passed that car, but DiFrancesco just was able to get by him.
And Ryan Marine, you're seeing the work being done on Robert McGinnis. Boy, tough break as he sees a podium wash away.
And it was a big-time puncture on that tire as well, on the inside sidewall of that tire. So they've made that change. It's hit Robert McGinnis back out into the fight, but only 4 laps remaining. That's going to be costly for sure. The former competitive fencer was locked in a duel there for much of that race, but he comes up on the wrong end of it. Rob, you got an update on your end of pit lane.
Yeah, Ryan, talking to a couple of the Cooper Tire technicians down here, we know how tough this racetrack is on left fronts, and they said yesterday McGinnis did pretty much the same thing, really chewed up that tire, and with a couple of lockups, as you guys saw, likely not a puncture, potentially just actually wore that thing down and blew the hole in that tire.
All right, so Davey Hamilton, let's say you're one of the 7 or 8 drivers that were in that long train that we've been watching all day. You see one guy have a flat tire. Do you get nervous yourself?
Well, you know, one good thing about these cars, you can see your front tires. You know, you're sitting right behind them, and whenever a blister comes up or a flat spot, your tires start looking different. You could see the wear of them a little bit. Now, what you can't see is just a flat wear, how much tread you have left on those. You could tell if there's a flat spot, you could tell if they're blistering, but you can't see the treads. So you want to be careful. And another thing, a real good tell of the tell is the car really pushing bad. There's a lack of front grip. And if you get to that point, man, you just have to start nursing them along, making sure you make it to the end, and try not to punish them anymore.
Just 3 laps to go here at Barber Motorsports Park. This is round 2 of the 2021 Indy Lights Championship, presented by Cooper Tires on IndyCar Radio. Nick Yeoman, Mark Janes, Davey Hamilton, Jake Query, Michael Young, Ryan Marine, and Rob Howden, the whole crew with you. We're getting set for the Honda Indy Grand Prix of Alabama. Race coverage coming your way at 3 o'clock Eastern on IndyCar Radio. Putting the finishing touches on this one. And, Mark, we've talked a lot about that battle mid-pack, but, boy, David Malukas, it's been clean and green for that young man up front as he's going to roar across the start-finish line with just 2 to go.
6 seconds to lead over Linus Lundqvist, who was so very, very fast yesterday. But while that melee was going on from 3rd all the way back to 9th, those guys are running 30 seconds behind the leader. That's incredible.
That's insane. I mean, that's how fast those guys have been, and how tough it was for some of those guys to finally get around Robert McGinnis ultimately with that flat tire. But it has been a picture-perfect day for David Malukas, and clearly, Mark, for Linus Lundqvist, it's not going to be a race win, but in terms of big-picture championship hunting, which is what he's doing, to walk away with a first and a second on weekend number 1.
I mean, that's the thing. Who have we seen win championship after championship just by piling up points, by finishing on the podium on those weekends when you didn't really maybe have a shot to win a race or a car to win the race. And that's a very, very cerebral approach to winning a championship for sure. You qualify well, you start up front, and you stay up front. You put yourself in a position the wins are going to come. But on those days when the wins aren't going to come, it's important to pile up points on the podium for sure.
Boy, it's been a tough afternoon for Andretti Autosport as Daniel Frost just looks like he lost a tire as well. Meanwhile, the leader into turn 1 for the final time.
David Malukas will finish second in the FR Championship last year to Linus Lundqvist with 2 wins for David Malukas. Looks like he may get his first Indy Lights win today. He goes to turn 5 for the final time.
David Malukas is a native of Chicago. Of course, there is no strange storyline about somebody from Chicago making headlines in Birmingham, Alabama, but it's been a long time since Michael Jordan did it. David Malukas, Nick, actually won 5 races in the last 3 years among 2 different series, but he has not won in the Indy Lights. He is trying to do that here at the Barber Motorsports Park on a picturesque day. He's been picture perfect so far.
Yeah, a lot of folks you talk to say despite Indy Lights not running last year, it was still a big season for David Malukas and the maturation process as he has come to Indy Lights in 2021 and does not look like the same driver from 2019 during his rookie season. Andretti Autosport driver Daniel Frost limping his car into pit lane. He's fallen all the way back to 12th. But up front, it's going to be career win number 1 for David Malukas. The driver from Chicago leads them all. 35 up, 35 down. He'll see the twin checkered flags. David Malukas is a winner in the Indy Lights Series presented by Cooper Tires. He'll go to victory lane for the first time. Linus Lundqvist finishes second comfortably with a 6.3 second deficit. Final step on the podium. We're going to have to wait a while to see how that all shakes out, because those drivers were a good 32 seconds behind. Here comes Devlin DeFrancesco out of turn number 17. He's got about a 4-car length advantage over Toby Sowery, and it's going to be a second straight third place finish for Devlin DeFrancesco. He'll be on the 3rd step of the podium, grabbing 3rd position. Sowery comes across the line in 4th. Kyle Kirkwood salvages the weekend. He'll finish in 5th. Alex Peroni will finish 6th. Benjamin Pedersen comes home 7th. He jumped Daniel Frost with 2 to go, as did Stingray Robb, who moves up to 8th. Nikita Lastishkin is going to finish in 9th. Christian Bogle, one of the Carlin rookies, will come home in 10th. Antonio Saravalli will finish 11th. Then it's Frost, who had to pit on the final lap. He'll come home in 12th. His Andretti Autosport teammate, Robert McGinnis, with a similar tire issue. He will finish last, 13th on the day. And Mark Janes, we see David Malukas making the trip down the back straightaway and pumping his fist to the fans. Always cool to see a first-time winner.
Well, yeah, we talked about, piling up points. How about the job that DeFrancesco has done this weekend, Nick, with a couple of podium finishes? He's just 13 points now back, so he's very much early on in championship contention, and a big wave of the crowd here at Barber Motorsports Park, and I'm sure they enjoyed that phenomenal show put on by these talented young drivers here in the Indy Lights Series presented by Cooper Tires.
Yeah, it turned out to be a pretty intriguing race. Again, the box scores don't show everything. You look back at this race years from now, this weekend, you're going to say, 2 dominant wins. But the racing throughout the field was really good, despite not having pushed to pass. Watching that battle mid-pack, a lot of fun today. And tip of the cap to all these drivers, because they were pushing those Cooper tires, racing wheel to wheel, being aggressive, but I don't think anyone made contact with anyone else. We didn't break any front wings, and ultimately those drivers bring those cars home in one piece, which the car owners love the absolute most. David Malukas has brought that number 79 machine for HMD Motorsports back to pit lane. Looks like he's just overcome with emotion. A first career win, so big for all these drivers. If you want to win a championship, you want to get the IndyCar, the first step is ultimately winning in Indy Lights, and David Malukas can say he did that. Just 19 years old, from Chicago, Illinois, driving for HMD Motorsports, a team owned by his father, and what an impressive win for him. Ultimately, 6.3 seconds over Linus Lundqvist for David Malukas. And the neat story is that, of course, 2 years ago, he was involved in a big accident at the Indianapolis Motor Speedway in the Freedom 100 and admitted that it shook his confidence a little bit during his rookie season. Obviously, 2020 difficult for everybody as we reevaluate and change our lifestyle, but boy, he comes back in 2021 and clearly looks like a mature and fast race car driver, and can't wait to hear from him here in moments after scoring his first career win in Indy Lights. In fact, he's going to pop out of that car here any moment. So again, Indy Lights Series presented by Cooper Tires. Good to have this 2021 season underway. 2 races in the books. They'll move to St. Petersburg, Florida next weekend, right back in action for a pair of double headers, a pair of races on the streets of St. Petersburg. Really looking forward to that. And of course, later today, before we hear from some of these drivers, Mark Janes, the Honda Indy Grand Prix of Alabama, about a half hour away from the first race of the IndyCar season. I know you're fired up, and so are all of our listeners and fans.
Going to take the air at the top of the hour, and buoyed by an outstanding rookie class. But Pato O'Ward is P1. We'll do a nice battle with Alexander Rossi down that main straightaway on the opening lap. Been a great weekend for Alex Palou, his debut in the 10 machine for Ganassi Racing. Will Power, Scott Dixon, Marcus Ericsson among the top 10 as we get ready to go racing and kick off the Honda Indy Grand Prix of Alabama. Again, join us at the top of the hour at 3 p.m.
Let's go to pit lane. Ryan Marine standing by with a Swedish driver who I imagine, Ryan, has to be pretty pleased with his first weekend in Indy Lights.
Yeah, let's find out. Linus Lundqvist, a winner at race 1 yesterday, P2 here today. So my math tells me you should lead with the points lead after your first weekend at Indy Lights. How would you assess the experience here week 1 at Barber?
I'd say we did a pretty good job. And firstly, I just want to say a massive thank you to my team, Global Racing Group with HMD. They've done a tremendous job. And today, David did a good job, so congrats to him. He earns he earns the victory, and then obviously good for him to bounce back after yesterday. But I think today we showed as a team that this is where we belong.
We'll see you at St. Pete.
Yes, you will.
That is Linus Lundqvist to victory lane and Rob Howden.
Thank you so much, Ryan. Hugs all around here for David Malukas. What a stark contrast from yesterday, right? You had that anger, you calmed down by the time I had talked to you. You go from here to the race win today. Just tell me about the pure emotion about being able to win your first Indy Lights race.
Yeah, I mean, thank God I took a really slow in lap because I actually shed some tears coming in there. It's been a long time coming. I mean, every race I've done here so far, I've never had an Indy Lights win, and it was kind of like, man, maybe I'm cursed. I can't get it. So, and then yesterday happened. So, I mean, today is just a full turnaround. I'm so happy. I'm through the roof. Man, I just want to say thank you to the team. They gave me an amazing car. even at the end there, you know, we did so many miles on the tires. I was having a really good time, man. I was doing the laps, this amazing track, amazing tires, amazing car. I was loving it.
Let's talk about the David Maluka storyline briefly. You remember back to the Freedom 100, that big wreck you had with Chris Windham. You told me that season that, you know, it kind of shook you a little bit. You're such a different young man right now, a different driver. Can you talk about how much you've changed mentally since that incident?
Yeah, I mean, that incident was hard, and there was many others that also kind of pulled me down, but without those bad days, you can't get the good ones, and they also, in addition, helped with my maturity, you know, and without those, you know, incidents, I wouldn't be where I am today and who I am, so yeah, I mean, it all turned out for the best.
Let's talk about this team, HMD. You guys have put together a fantastic group of guys, and you're able to take it to the front.
Yeah, I mean, this is the best team I've ever seen. I mean, we crashed yesterday, but I was still good mood because, I mean, I wouldn't want to race with any other team. The team and the members, everything, it's amazing. So, yeah, just full smiles all around.
We had a big kiss from Dad in the middle of that one there, man. This is going to be a big family celebration tonight.
Yeah, definitely.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
David Malukas, Nick Yeoman, fantastic run for him. The winner today in Indy Lights. Let's go back to Ryan.
All right, let's chat with the final member of the podium, Devlin DeFrancesco. A couple of podiums for you here at Barber to get the season started. All in all, you pleased with how the weekend played out, or is it leaving you wanting a bit more?
For sure, I'm happy with where we ended up. I mean, if you told me at the start of the weekend we'd be coming out with a double podium, that would have been a high expectation after FP1, but the Andretti Steinbrenner guys did a fantastic job. We definitely clawed back a lot of the speed we were missing this weekend. Highs on to St. Pete, but for sure I have to thank everyone who's helped me so far. You know, the Andretti Steinbrenner guys, Power Tap, of course, Simply Mac, Soul Yoga, Kimoa, of course, everyone who's made this season possible.
Got a big congratulations from your countryman, Paul Tracy, at the end of the race. A legend like Paul, when he comes up and claps you on the back like that, what does that mean to you?
100%, means a lot. You know, to have a legend like that come and congratulate you, it's no mean feat. So hopefully we can keep this momentum rolling into St. Pete.
We'll see you there.
See you there.
That's Devlin DeFrancesco.
Great job by Ryan Marine and Rob Howden down there on pit lane. A big thanks to Ryan as well for hustling during that delay. Also, nice job by Michael Young and Jake Query out on the racetrack. Again, congratulations to David Malukas. He scores the race win. It also moves him up to third in points. The top three in points will be Linus Lundqvist, Devlin DeFrancesco, and David Malukas as we head to St. Petersburg. Want to thank our on-site engineer, Rick Evans, here in Indianapolis, Sam Rumsa, and our network director, Chris Pollock. Great job by Davey Hamilton, our driver analyst, and Mark Janes here in the booth with me. We're looking forward to a really, really fun start to the NTT IndyCar Series as well. The Honda Indy Grand Prix of Alabama on this same IndyCar radio outlet coming your way with pre-race coverage in just under a half hour.
Ladies and gentlemen, down here at Tatis Victory Lane as we get set to wrap up all the events of the Road to Indy presented by Cooper Tires. What a battle that was mid-pack, but the guys out front were able to stretch away and score a tremendous 1-2 finish. Let's get started here, though, with the podium presentations of our trophies for the drivers here in Indy Lights. Starting off, finishing in third spot, a couple of straight podiums, folks, for Andretti Steinbrenner Autosport, Devlin DeFrancesco, Canadian, coming home, P3. Solid weekend to start off the season for HMD Motorsports and Global Racing Group, finishing in second place today. Yesterday's winner, the championship leader, heading to St. Petersburg next weekend, Linus Lundqvist, second in Indy Lights today. Always fun when you get a driver to come here and score that first win in the series. This was a big one. Yesterday, he ended the opening lap, not even the opening lap, the opening corner, backwards in the wall. Today, he gets himself to the top of the podium. What a turnaround, folks, and a huge win. The young American driver for HMD Motorsports, the winner in Indy Lights, David Malukas. David Malukas, we've seen him win before in the Indy Pro 2000 category. Strong in the rookie season in 2019. A pretty nasty wreck at the Freedom 100 at the Indianapolis Motor Speedway. Coming back here, though, as a definite championship challenger, as he said in the interview on IndyCar Radio. A little more mature, a little more focused, and ready to challenge. But we have all three of these drivers ready to battle it out. DeFrancesco, Indy Pro 2000 runner-up last year. 2 podiums to start the season. David Malukas, as we said, though, top of the charts here. Going to bring some of our guests in from Anderson Promotions and Doster Construction. Get a chance to take a picture with these future stars of the NTT IndyCar Series. And I always harp on this. Remember, the drivers on the podium here, just a couple of years ago, it was Pato O'Ward and Felix Rosenqvist and Jack Harvey and Rinus VK, Connor Daly, Joseph Newgarden. And I can just keep going on through the field of the drivers you're going to see roll out onto the track today in IndyCar. Colton Herta, of course, as well. My goodness. These are the guys you're going to see over the next couple of years in the NTT IndyCar Series, the next generation. And of course, we'll watch Pato O'Ward launch from pole today. Folks, we're done here with the trophies. It's time for the champagne. It is flying. Once again, the winner today, his first ever Indy Lights victory, David Malukas, a dominant run to P1. His teammate Linus Lundqvist coming home in second. And a great double podium weekend for Devlin DeFrancesco on his Indy Lights debut. What a way to start the season. These drivers back on track in less than a week's time at the Grand Prix of St. Petersburg. Thank you so much for your attention. Thank you so much for the round of applause as the drivers circulated the track to cap it off. 6 different winners in 6 Road to Indy races. We have so much talent up and down the Road to Indy, USF 2000, Indy Pro 2000, and Indy Lights. We're doing what we can to deliver you and the IndyCar Series, the absolute best talent we possibly can. Thank you so much, folks. Again, on behalf of everyone from the Road to Indy, my name's Rob Howden. Bye for now.
As your uncle, I want you to know that on the road of life, there will be rough spots, and they will chew up your tires. I recently took a road trip to Greensville to attend a chili cook-off. Rough roads all the way down. I drove there on these Cooper Discoverer and Duramax tires. You know, they're made with the durability of off-road tires, but for on-road driving. Without them, we might never know the winning bean-to-meat ratio of a good chili. And those are the things in life, my friend, worth driving towards. So go with the Coopers. Cooper! I'm hungry now.
With over 40 years in business, High Tide Boat Lifts is committed to elevating your craft. Whether you own a personal watercraft or a large yacht, we can design and create the perfect lift for your needs. At High Tide Boat Lifts, we understand that you've worked hard to get to a successful place in life. We'll ensure you have a hassle-free experience, maximizing the time you spend on your boat with family and friends, and supporting your dreams out on the open water.
Karting and motorsport enthusiasts, Lucas Oil School of Racing is America's #1 Formula Car race school. Enjoy modern paddle shifters, pit speed limiter, and onboard video along with integrated data systems. Get started today with our 2-day basic or advanced course. Lucas Oil School of Racing is the official school of the Road to Indy. We can also qualify you for your SCCA license. Get started today by visiting us at www.lucasraceschool.com.
As your uncle, I want you to know that on the road to life, there will be rough spots, and they will chew up your tires. I recently took a road trip to Greensville to attend a chili cook-off. Rough roads all the way down. I drove there on these Cooper Discoverer and Duramax tires. You know, they're made with the durability of off-road tires, but for on-road driving. Without them, we might never know the winning bean-to-meat ratio of a good chili. And those are the things in life, my friend, worth driving towards. So go with the Coopers. Cooper! I'm hungry now.
With over 40 years in business, High Tide Boat Lifts is committed to elevating your craft. Whether you own a personal watercraft or a large yacht, we can design and create the perfect lift for your needs. At High Tide Boat Lifts, we understand that you've worked hard to get to a successful place in life. We'll ensure you have a hassle-free experience, maximizing the time you spend on your boat with family and friends, and supporting your dreams out on the open water.
We are back, Road to Indy TV live after race 2. David, you probably didn't know this, but one of the most exciting Indy Lights races I've ever seen. But for you, pretty straightforward.
Oh, yeah. Well, for me, it was straightforward. But I'm not going to lie. I also had, like, some popcorn, right? Because, you know, the gap was there. They said, you know, take it easy. So I'm saving the tires. Make sure I'm not doing anything stupid. But when I'm coming into turn 5, I can actually see them coming from 17. And nobody told me anything, but I'm looking, and every lap I was like, oh, wow, that's interesting. Okay, and then I keep going, and I could see the chaos that was unfolding in the back there.
Unbelievable. You probably had one of the best seats in the house, but the battle from third back, do you realize how far ahead of third place you were?
I mean, other than those few laps where I was from turn 5, I could see them coming out of 17, but other than that, I kind of lost track.
It was over 30 seconds.
Wow.
So you and Linus, you know, that was just a Sunday drive. Unfortunately, on the broadcast, I didn't even get to watch you that much because it was third place back. It was an absolute battle. But take us through how you can be that quick.
I mean, it's not me. It's the team. I mean, I've been here, you know, a couple of years. Yes, I've matured, and yes, I've done more driving, but it's mainly the team. I mean, I have such a good car behind on my wheel, and I'm kind of just driving what they drove, what they made, you know, and it's unbelievable. The tire's still at the end there. Fuel load dropped. I could feel the car coming in, and I was pushing, man. I was like, wow, this car's amazing.
I saw you lock up in 2-3. I saw you lock up going into 9. So
I was going.
Yeah.
I was not coming down. I was having a great time.
And I think the 30 seconds of a lead was reflected in that to third place.
Yeah.
So as a race car driver, do you find it harder to push all out, or do you find it harder to actually sit back, relax, and enjoy the race?
Yeah, it's harder to sit back. You know, there's times where, I mean, especially there, I could have definitely calmed down when, you know, but I just feel the fuel load drop, and I'm like, man, it's like the tires want to go quick. So it's like, so it's hard to kind of hold back to me. I think going all out is kind of more just a mentality. It's really easy to do. You know, you just go out, give it your all, box, done.
Yeah.
So, yeah, it's really hard to kind of keep it calm and think towards the end, you know, but, I mean, it pulled off here, so.
And how did those Cooper tires handle over the course of that 35-lap race?
Unbelievable. I mean, this track being, you know, the large, you know, elevation changes, it's hard on the tires. You got a lot of long corners, a lot of pressure on these tires. They lasted easily. I mean, at the end there, I was still doing the fastest times of the whole run, you know, and the car felt amazing. I think it was the best that it's ever felt. It was almost like, felt like it was qualifying.
Well, I think you might owe a drink to Yancey, your engineer, tonight, because you guys were on rails at HMD Global. It was an absolute statement. How do you keep that momentum going into St. Pete?
I mean, keep on doing what we've been doing. The team's working hard every day. You know, I'm actually at HMD Trucking now. I'm going to actually at the office. I work IT now. And I can see in the cameras, you know, in the Indy Lights trailer and see in the shop that what they're working on. And they are nonstop. I mean, I get to the office, you know, 8 to 5, and when I go there, they're already there. And when I leave, they're still there. You know, they work hard every single day. And that's the effort that that shows, you know, here today. So I think just keeping this momentum, it's going to be just, man, working hard, I guess.
Oh, that's fantastic. Coming up next, we've got some other race car drivers coming on. But David, congratulations on such a dominant win. I'm sorry that we're not more excited. It was just, it was such a big lead that there's really not too much to talk about.
Awesome.
Carry that momentum into St. Pete, and we'll be back talking with you.
Yeah, we'll do. Thank you.
Karting and motorsport enthusiasts. Lucas Oil School of Racing is America's #1 Formula Car race school. Enjoy modern paddle shifters, pit speed limiter, and onboard video along with integrated data systems. Get started today with our 2-day basic or advanced course. Lucas Oil School of Racing is the official school of the road to Indy. We can also qualify you for your SCCA license. Get started today by visiting us at www.lucasraceschool.com.
As your uncle, I want you to know that on the road to life, there will be rough spots, and they will chew up your tires. I recently took a road trip to Greensville to attend a chili cook-off. Rough roads all the way down. I drove there on these Cooper Discoverer and Duramax tires. You know, they're made with the durability of off-road tires, but for on-road driving. Without them, we might never know the winning bean-to-meat ratio of a good chili. And those are the things in life, my friend, worth driving towards. So go with the Coopers. Cooper! I'm hungry now.
With over 40 years in business, High Tide Boat Lifts is committed to elevating your craft. Whether you own a personal watercraft or a large yacht, we can design and create the perfect lift for your needs. At High Tide Boat Lifts, we understand that you've worked hard to get to a successful place in life. We'll ensure you have a hassle-free experience, maximizing the time you spend on your boat with family and friends, and supporting your dreams out on the open water.
Karting and motorsport enthusiasts. Lucas Oil School of Racing is America's #1 Formula Car race school. Enjoy modern paddle shifters, pit speed limiter, and onboard video along with integrated data systems. Get started today with our 2-day basic or advanced course. Lucas Oil School of Racing is the official school of the road to Indy. We can also qualify you for your SCCA license. Get started today by visiting us at www.lucasraceschool.com.
With, I would say, the star of race 2, you may not have led and dominated the race, but Toby, what a fantastic effort. I know it probably feels a little bit empty-handed, but I have to say that you were the most exciting car on the track. Take us through the start, take us through battling for third, and then obviously you got third for probably, I would say, a half of a second, and then came home fourth.
Yeah, so, you know, it's a difficult track to overtake at, so first focus is lap 1, lap 2. Got a good start, made a position, and then Alex actually had a really good move around the outside at turn 5. Actually got past me again. So it was a bit like one step forward, one step back. But, yeah, you know, the race was difficult. I managed to get past Alex again when he had an issue. Very fortunate for myself, unlucky for him. And then, yeah, stuck behind the same kid everyone else was. You know, I don't know how far the queue went back, but I think we've seen shorter queues at Target.
Yeah, shorter queues at Target is a great way to put it, because you had probably 7 or 8 cars lined up behind third place. So describe to me, I mean, you were forcing him into mistakes. You were using different lines. What was really the prohibiting factor to getting around him?
You know, not having pushed the pass didn't help, but also the fact we get set some very clear rules before the weekend. Don't move under braking, no reacting to the person overtaking. So, you know, when we have a driver that actually then goes against that and nothing happens, it's quite frustrating, but, you know, it's racing, you can't win every battle. He came off a lot worse, which is kind of deserving, but, you know, tough racing's all fair, but when you start driving like that, it's, you know, it prohibits racing.
Well, and it was mentioned in the broadcast, you forced him into a lockup 4 or 5 times throughout the race, and not a small lockup. It was a huge tail of smoke coming off, so it was a matter of time before that left front Cooper just couldn't take it anymore. Getting the run out of turn 2 and turn 3 with the wash of this car, I saw you going wide, I saw you trying to stay narrow. Were you judging the line based off him, or were you judging the line based off of where that IndyCar rubber was going down?
A bit of both. You know, IndyCar had been out this morning, so you had to judge where the grip was different. It definitely was different today than yesterday's race, but also, you know, you have to find your clean air. So where he goes, you kind of find a gap either on the inside or outside. So it's very planned but reactive at the same time. You know your options, but you have to choose then and there.
I would say you had the lunge of the race. You had to have been 6 or 7 cars back. You licked the stamp. You sent it down the inside. Almost like the Andretti cars were running a different gear set coming out of the hairpin, though, because you were alongside them. I felt like you got on throttle earlier, but that blue Andretti car pulled up alongside.
Yeah, they've obviously got a great car underneath them. They qualify well, so that goes to show that the team do a good job as well. But gear ratios, traction, car setup, whatever it was, they can just seem to rip off turn 5. And you know, when you're kind of 3/4 of the way past, and then he pulls back aside, it's not him, it's not me, it's just the different setups between the car. Benefits in some places, and this hampers him in others. So.
Now, not the first time you've come on battle with Robert McGuinness. Last year at the Freedom 100 in Indy Lights, obviously you both made contact and somehow miraculously both kept it out of the wall and both finished with all 4 wheels.
Somehow.
Now, take me through what it's like. You know him. You know he's aggressive.
Mm-hmm.
Does that change the way you're going to approach battling him?
No.
Okay.
You know, I know it's Robert. We've raced each other, like you said, fairly hard a few times, but it's the same approach with him every time. You know what he's going to do. You have to kind of force a move that you shouldn't have to force. You know, you're committed to it, but it's a bit risky. You know, with Robert, he's tough. You give him credit for that. You know, he races hard, but sometimes it's a bit over the line, and you have to be prepared that if you put your car in that situation, it doesn't benefit you either.
100%. We saw multiple times. I mean, I'm surprised you still had a front wing after the one incident.
Yep.
The last thing I'll talk about, you tried to go around the outside, which honestly I thought you set the dummy, you pulled him down to the inside, you launched it around the outside. I thought you had it. What was the contributing factor to backing out of that? You had a wheel on him. I know you were running out of road. Was it because of Robert backing out?
Experience racing him. You know, some drivers would give you a run, but I know he wouldn't, which is fair enough. You know, you're in a position that's compromising yourself more than anyone, so he's fully entitled to squeeze you, but I knew if there was any chance of him pushing me off the track, it would have happened.
And then let's talk about the nail in the coffin, and it's almost ironic, right? Because you're the guy that's working this guy into mistakes over and over and over again. You're waiting to get that reward of him making a mistake. You make him make a mistake one too many times, that left front goes down, and as his left front Cooper tire goes down, you decide to go around the outside of turn 2 and 3, which one is probably the most bold move of the race, but it doesn't pay off as he squeezes you. Did you know right away when he was washing up into you that he had a tire going down?
Not initially. I thought, commit to the outside. He's very slow on the apex. There's a lot of grip out there thanks to the IndyCar Firestone rubber as well, but it was only kind of when I was alongside him that he was keep coming. I could see the tire wall folding under. I was like, I'm in a bad position here. And I knew as soon as that happened, it was like, well, Devlin's going to be in front of me now. So, and hey presto, there he was.
Well, that is it's tough. I've been in that spot where you do all the work and you don't reap the rewards. But Toby, I think without saying, maybe you could have got on the podium both races, but it's got to carry some confidence knowing that you've got the pace. I know the HMD Global guys have got their stuff sorted out right now, but for you to come in, for the fans viewing at home, limited testing, you know, it's not like you came over here. You just came over here recently this year, put together a last-minute deal with Juncos Racing, and you're right there.
Yeah, it's like I said to everyone, you know, the rate of progression that the team and I have had this weekend has been a testament to their hard work. So Yeah, you're right. We didn't get podiums. We probably should have in both races. We weren't fighting for wins. Again, we would like to be, but our rate of progression is very inspiring, and it's a credit to the team.
No, that's fantastic. My last question, going into the rest of the season with Tim Neff and everybody at Juncos Racing, what are your expectations?
Better than this weekend.
Better than this weekend.
Better than this weekend. Short
and sweet. That's what Toby Sowery is. He's straight to the point. Ladies and gentlemen, thank everybody for tuning in to Road to Indy TV Live. We really appreciated you tuning in to the first rounds of the Road to Indy Championship. And make sure to tune in to next week as we head to the Grand Prix of St. Petersburg in sunny St. Petersburg, Florida.
Your uncle, I want you to know that on the road of life, there will be rough spots, and they will chew up your tires. I recently took a road trip to Greensville to attend a chili cook-off. Rough roads all the way down. I drove there on these Cooper Discoverer and Duramax tires. You know, they're made with the durability of off-road tires, but for on-road driving. Without them, we might never know the winning bean-to-meat ratio of a good chili. And those are the things in life, my friend, worth driving towards. So go with the Coopers. Cooper! I'm hungry now.
With over 40 years in business, High Tide Boat Lifts is committed to elevating your craft. Whether you own a personal watercraft or a large yacht, we can design and create the perfect lift for your needs. At High Tide Boat Lifts, we understand that you've worked hard to get to a successful place in life. We'll ensure you have a hassle-free experience, maximizing the time you spend on your boat with family and friends, and supporting your dreams out on the open water.
Karting and motorsport enthusiasts, Lucas Oil School of Racing is America's #1 Formula Car race school. Enjoy modern paddle shifters, pit speed limiter, and onboard video along with integrated data systems. Get started today with our 2-day basic or advanced course. Lucas Oil School of Racing is the official school of the Road to Indy. We can also qualify you for your SCCA license. Get started today by visiting us at www.lucasraceschool.com.